Amanda recording? She's
Yeah.
muted at the moment, so I'll just
Oh, she
wait
might
for.
be? I don't know, actually. She might be, yeah.
Yes, I am. Sorry.
Okay,
I
all right,
forgot I had both my mic on my headset and Discord muted. So I was like, yeah, I'm here.
all right, okay, cool. All right. So, recap for last session. The session starts where the previous left off. Sia heads off to do some shopping through the markets, searching for some sweets for the rest of the party and some materials to make some bracelets. Whilst shopping, she notices a small man in golden armor with that's just as intricate as Erastus's, along with a mechanical dog that accompanies him. Erastus has made a small profit of various copper pieces from drunk dancing out in the street. He thanks the crowd for their time and departs from his stand to take a stroll down the street. Gretna suspiciously follows Erastus down the street for a while before breaking out into a sprint to catch up with him, as Erastus tries to make a break for it. Due to Gretna's short stature, she is unable to keep up with Erastus and therefore unleashes a spell to try to slow him down. The spell lands and Erastus is staggered and disoriented by the loud ringing of bells all around him, which allows Gretna to catch up. This caused quite the racket, which alerted the surrounding area, which included some guards. The guards come over and scold Erastus and Gretna for casting magic in the city, but let them off with a warning. During the scolding, Erastus sneaks away from Gretna and the guards and disappears into the crowd. One more guard comes along and the others burst upon his entrance. Gretna and this new guard engage in conversation. She is once again advised to not use magic. Upon losing sight of Erastus, she heads to a bar to finally eat racks. Umbra notices this passing by from the magic shop and chases after Erastus with Max and Pan in tow. They catch him laughing in an alley like a maniac. After listening to Erastus talk about a wobble on a cart because of a smaller wheel than the rest, Umbra tries negotiating with Erastus for a gem to trade for equipment. We get the gem and Sierra arrives, curious as to what we're doing here. They hand Erastus back to Sierra and depart to the inn to grab the gold. Max, Umbra, and Pan return to the magic shop and meet a woman who has replaced the last shopkeeper. She welcomes us and upon realizing that we're here to purchase many components, asks if we have the gold to pay for it. Pan barters an extremely valuable sapphire for trade. The shopkeep brings up a document that is magically enchanted to not allow someone to sign it if they knowingly attempt to lie. The transaction goes successfully. Meanwhile, Max walks around the store to see if there is anything he might be interested in. He spots some kind of silver box which wasn't there before and asks about it. The woman starts to explain that it's a communication device with the Jinn in the city, but as she explains further, she suddenly turns to crystal. Max and Umbra and Pan start freaking out, and Umbra messages the previous shopkeep who shows up after about 30 minutes. He investigates what happened to the woman shopkeeper and explains to us that it's a result of speaking poorly about the Jinn. Says that we should head back as to not bring any trouble to the shop, but speak with him before we leave the city. Sierra and Umbra, meanwhile, head towards the bar where the artificer is, which also happens to be the bar Gretna is in. The artificer with the dog is very charismatic, which is one reason why Erastus becomes shy, as he wasn't expecting the artificer to be so quote-unquote cool. Erastus eats the last strawberry to try and get courage, which only makes his current demeanor worse. Erastus and the artificer eventually trade notes, and the man seems to show attraction towards Gretna and her remarks, flirting with her every so often. The man has a Nautilus ship that he invites the party to go see, and he is leaving on it tomorrow. Gretna sobers up Erastus with a spell. The conversation continues for a while longer, and everyone leaves but Gretna, who stays to finish her drink and converse with the artificer about his many toys, I imagine. The group minus Gretna reconvene at the rooms to relax for a few hours in their own way. Umbra, Pan, and Sio go to hang out in Umbra's room. Sio gets a haircut by Pan while they chat about their day and such. Max, Erastus, Umbra, Shikulu chill in their rooms before everyone gets ready for a luxurious dinner, suits and all. Before departing for dinner, Sio contacts Gretna to see if she's doing alright. Gretna responds with a mouthful and says that she's currently busy right now. Sio thinks that Gretna is already stuffing her face full with some cuisine and related info. Many hours many artifacts in later, the party arrives at a teleportation circle, which teleports them to a location high in the sky above the city. Here there is a wide open space with an unbelievable view. A very elaborate table with extremely fancy and priceless furniture sits in the center of the area. It has pallets of food resting on it, just waiting to be eaten. Everyone takes a seat, taking the view below their feet of the vast city that seems to have no end. Wine is distributed to everyone, and the first course begins. Max shares some of his past to the party over a salad, while Gretna is assumed to be tossing a salad at the time. Max's story grabs the attention of Zyles, saying he's heard of Max and the great deeds he's done for Luskan. Max also subtly brags about his win streak in the arena and his fame. More backstory revelations and discussions later, Sia raises a glass for a toast, and with everyone following her lead, that's where the session ends.
Nice. All right, cool.
It was a pretty lengthy recap because there was sort of two side stories going on.
Oh, this is good.
Yeah, I liked it.
You had to throw
Awesome.
on the Gretna puns.
Yeah, well,
All right, so
you guys were expecting it.
It was so like well worked into the. It caught me so off guard, which is why I cracked up.
Nice.
Well, that's what I was aiming for.
I believe we're on the second course, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
Yeah,
about to
we were
start
just
it.
starting in, I think.
Yeah.
All right. So, and you guys were doing toast, and Max was just finishing up what he had said. Max, is there anything else you wanted to say before? Because it's very obvious that Zyles is waiting for you to finish speaking.
No, I think Max has said everything that he wanted to say, unless anyone's got any questions about it. But I don't think that seems to be the case.
Okay, so Zyles puts his hands together and he says, well, this next piece is, and he opens up his hands, and there are 7 different waiters now bringing out what look like these very elaborate ice sculptures of a tower. So this is nice sculpture of a tower that's very spindly and very thin. The ice on the inside looks like it's impossibly done, meaning that they are completely ice. It's of a tower. The tower stands around 8 inches. It's see-through. And inside of that tower is what looks like a multifaceted range of like colors, but it's blurred because of the ice. But when he sets it down in front of all of you, you notice that the ice around this is very, very thin. And he explains, all you have to do, and he takes his spoon and he says, crack the top of the tower, and well, we'll see what happens. Who wants to do that first?
Pan will.
Hell yeah.
Okay, Pan. So everyone is looking at this, and Pan is the first one to take her spoon. She cracks open the tower, and the ice falls around everything, and inside there is very vibrantly colored what looks like small pieces of fish all towered together like almost like a Jenga tower, and they're cut in these rectangles. However, the actual colors are really vibrant. It's purple, it's red, it's some of them are even like darker. So what's interesting is Pan, both you and Arasis have never seen the flesh of some of these creatures before ever. He says enjoy. He says enjoy. Now, Pan, how do you feel about this? And Arasis, I imagine Arasis, you're fine with this, but how do you feel about what is your character doing?
I'm gonna poke it with my nail.
Yep.
Wait, sorry.
It does.
Avastis is going to poke my food?
No, I got
His
it
food.
too, right?
Yeah, no, everyone has it. Yep.
But
So
did
Arasis,
he...
I assume at this point everyone else is going through
Okay.
and opening theirs.
I was
as
gonna
you-
smack
as
his
you
hand
do
away.
that, Pan. So now the fish itself is not cooked at all. It's prepared in some other way. The fish is raw, but the fish is also, like I said, enough together that it's in these like small rectangles going through it. Who wants to try it?
Shakulu, he like gets down and like inspects it from the side, almost at like eye level. Like he's not sure about raw food, but then he thinks about it for a second and he thinks to himself, well, topsiders aren't used to eating mushrooms, so I guess it's not that different. And he tries to like pick it up with a fork by like scraping it off the plate
Mhm.
and then like very very shakily into the mouth.
I just
Yeah,
want
if
to give.
you-
I
if-
want to give it a safety sniff.
It doesn't smell like fish at all, as a matter of fact. It almost smells like nothing. And Shakula, when you try it, what's happened is that the flesh of the fish has been cured with some kind of really strong citrus, but each one is different. So each one of these little rectangles that are built like a Jenga tower that have all different colors. Like I said, some are almost black, some are purple, some are pink, some are orange. So it's very like dramatic colors. Each one is different, and yeah, they're all cured with a different kind of citrus. It's the same as like a sashimi dish. For most of you, though, because of the way this is prepared and because of the fact that, quite frankly, this has to be done immediately, the fish can't, for a lot of it, like even in Neverwinter, for instance, yes, there are certain really high-end shops that will have things like refrigeration because they actually have mages that'll take care of it, but that's incredibly expensive. For the most part, meat's still cured around the realm. So this is kind of the first time, besides Erasmus, and maybe you, Pan, if you do eat fish, which you may not,
I grew
that
up
you
in
would
the Sea
have.
of Fallen Stars. It's almost guaranteed that I grew up on fish almost exclusively.
Okay, that's it was up to your character. Okay, perfect. So, perfect. So yeah. So in that case, you guys would have had really fresh fish. A lot of you have not had anything like this before, and I'm not sure that any of you would have had any kind of ceviche like this because it is cooked in the actual acids of the thing. So that's the second dish, and he's gonna let you guys talk amongst yourselves while you eat.
Uh, After tasting it, Chakulu like, oh my god, it's fish. I've never had fish tasted like this. All I've had is salted ship rations, and he starts digging into it.
As a matter of fact, most of you also know fish by its smell because of the smell that comes out of fish is actually done by bacteria and other things. Actual fresh seafood doesn't have a smell at all. And so this would be also confusing because you're used to the very strong pungent odor of the way fish is supposed to smell. Of course, it doesn't here. So
I'm going
Um,
to pick it up between two of my little long nails and just toss it in my mouth.
each one is slightly different. Although once you get to the bottom, those are the fatty fish, just like Toro. Those are expertly prepared because they can't do too much citrus on those, and they're almost like creamy. If anyone's ever had Toro, it's very expensive, but the real kind. But it's that kind of thing. It's this fleshy red thing that's got fat veins that go through it. Very very good. That's what's at the bottom.
Ugh, it's good. It's good.
Uh,
Uh,
Go ahead.
I've had fish before, but it's never tasted quite like this. So this is amazing.
Yeah, I feel like Seal would cautiously look at it, but then as everyone digs in, we'll slowly start to eat it. But as she takes the first bite, she's gonna start taking apart her tower, cutting every piece in half, and she's gonna tell Kiri to sit in front of her at the table. She's gonna give him a little bib, and she's gonna start feeding the pseudo dragonfish.
Okay, yeah, no,
I hope
he absolutely loves this. He tells you, he says, "Mommy, I've never had this before, and this is so good. I could probably eat all of it."
Well, you can if you want. We'll share this, and I think it's safe here. You can stay out and about, talk to the party. I know you don't get the chance to, so enjoy
Oh,
it with us.
he's if that's the case, he's very excited. He flies out to show everyone his. So a lot of you have not actually seen Kiri all the way. Kiri is a dragon with literal crystalline emerald scales to the point that when he flies out and the sun hits it behind him, he literally glows and gleams because it's the light reflecting off his crystalline scales. His scales are translucent, um, and they are. He is actually a very impressive sight.
Um, Shakulu, he he's very taken in by this, and then he looks at Seo and says, I've been meaning to ask you about that. I've seen wizards with homunculi before, but What is that? Is that yours? Did you make that? Is it a pet? I don't.
When you say that, by the way, Curry winces. And he says, "Mommy, tell him
Um,
I'm not a pet."
well, you can talk to Shakulu too, Kiri. But as Sio thinks that to Kiri, she'll just gently pet him. I I know that some mages like Umbra and even Erasmus have their tricks. Umbra has his own familiar. Erasmus has Bemi, a construct, but Kiri's rather different. He's a true pseudo dragon. They're very rare, and they can do things differently, but he's by no means a pet. He's my partner, if anything.
And
And
as
she'll
she
just like
says that,
swoop him on the
as,
nose.
as she also says that, you guys notice one very distinct, kind of ominous thing about this dragon that's flying around. Not only is it out now, but you can very clearly see now a very sharp, very barbarous, very nasty looking stinger, also made of emerald, by the way, on the back of this dragon's tail.
uh, he uh, he winces a bit at the sight of the barber, and he says, well, you and your companions continue to amaze me, all of you." And he sort of like looks around at the party and says, "So where did you all meet? It doesn't seem like you've all known each other your entire lives, unless I'm wrong."
Umbra has been silent so far because he is so busy digging into the fish. He loves it.
Yeah.
We met at a.
Pan is also like very much enjoying this dish, and upon hearing, "Where did you guys meet?" just kind of winces a little.
Hmm.
Yeah.
We met at a
Um,
bank.
well, the
Well,
short story is Erasmus, Gretna, and I met in Luskin. There was a robbery at the bank we were all at, and we were able to subdue the people causing turmoil.
I hit him with a wrench.
He did, in fact, hit him
That
with a
sounds
wrench,
like something you would do at Rassus.
and he did expertly. And our group looked rather different. And she'll look fondly at all of you, but you can tell there's a little bit of sadness in Sio's eyes as she kind of looks over everyone. It was originally Erasmus, Gretna, and I.
And
As
5 more, and they all died.
is the expedited version of that. We were then contracted by the Arcane Brotherhood in Luskin to research, excavate something, dungeon dive essentially into a place called the Tomb of Horrors at the threat that Luskin, Neverwinter, other areas of the realm would cease to exist if we didn't. Spent the equivalent of 50 years there while only perhaps a month, maybe a couple
From
of weeks
that, yeah,
passed.
like a week or 2.
A week or two maybe past our time, but by the time we left, 50 years had already elapsed. We lost 5 members there, but that is where we ended up meeting Pan and Umbra, amongst our other friends who were dungeon diving at different points in time, but by some miracle, I guess, we came to know each other.
We found Pan in a bowl of water, and we found Umbra in a depression check.
And they almost killed me.
um,
That wasn't a joke.
that that honestly, from what I've seen, that's not surprising. No offense, and he like waves a hand, like, "No, please don't take offense to that." Um, so we have, and he points to people at the table, and you could sort of guess who. So we have a demon that hunts demons, a turtle that makes things.
Portal.
Uh, did I? I'm sorry. Am I saying it wrong? I've only ever seen turtles.
We'll cross that bridge later.
No, you're right.
We'll
Continue.
burn that
No,
bridge when we
he's
get
not
to it.
right.
um, a mage that's apparently from a world that was split in half. And he like looks at Umbra with like some level of confusion.
Umbra has his mouth full, but he's just gonna put a finger up to his lips, like keep quiet about it.
Right. But and then he like going off of the picture that was drawn, he points across the table to Pan and he says, I haven't heard a single thing about you.
Apologies for that. It's not so much that I don't wish to share information. It's more that where I grew up was closer to this dinner that we're having right now than where we've been the past few weeks. Like everything that's been going on has been a lot, and I haven't really been quite sure where my place in the party was, but I'm getting more comfortable now. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them.
I mean, it feels somewhat intrusive to just ask people's entire life story. Uh, share whatever you feel like sharing. Honestly, it only matters where we're going, which, if it's fine with everybody, I would rather not discuss business matters until the day before our stay here is up.
Fair enough.
That's exactly why I arranged for at least 3 days here.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
need time away from all of that.
Well,
Yeah.
the simple information about me is that I grew up in the Sea of Fallen Stars in the Sea King's Court. I was a bard there, and one day I felt like I should explore, and I met up with a group who ended up in the same tomb that this current group was in, or the group before you guys joined, and they all died, and I was taken as a test experiment, which CO explained they rescued me from, and that is how I met the group.
A little bit of happiness comes from tragedy. That's somewhat heartwarming. And Shakulu, like, he has a sort of like embarrassed look in his face, just because it seems every conversation he tries to start ends up in a dark place.
I seeing that panel try to comfort you and be like, I honestly think that meeting this group was the best thing that could have happened to me. Even with a rocky start, like after having spent time with them, this is the best possible outcome that my life could have taken. Even if I had stayed in the court, it wouldn't have been half of what I've experienced with this group. Even if it's been a lot, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Well, Max will chime up upon hearing that before he stuffs his face with food. Just say, "We love you too, Pan."
Pen's gonna put a hand over their heart, like, "Aw."
Seal will raise her glass to you in acknowledgement, and she'll try and polish off the rest of the glass of wine.
Yeah,
Umber's
cheers.
taking sips, but he'll hold up as well. and be like,
I will grab my chocolate milk goblet with 2 hands and take a deep swig.
Yeah. I have another out of character. I have another topic to bring up, but I'd rather wait until
Me too. I have a
either
topic.
either someone else or the next course. So go Erasmus.
Okay, I'll put the milk goblet down and I'll wipe my milk mustache away, and I'm gonna look over at Chikulu and say, "Okay, I mean this in the nicest way. You've been a great help, but why are you still here? I thought you had things to do."
Shakulu, he sort of like leans forward, elbows on the table, and like puts his hands together, like sort of like, yes. And he smiles and says, "Mercenary work is
We're
it's
not
more to
paying
my."
you.
I'm sorry.
He said mercenary work, and Ras is like under his breath. He's like, "We're not paying you."
Mercenary work is I'm more comfortable with it than I am with what was the term? Uh Enlistment is what they called it. And he like looks around and waits for either a lull in the service or like basically making sure no one's listening, and he says, I'm going to be honest. The Lord's Alliance is somewhat of an underground organization. I barely ever have contact with them at all.
Wow, that was kind of like the coolest thing you had going for you.
Don't get me wrong. If I find an outpost and show some rank, I can get in and ask what's going on and ask for some new missions. But other than that, unless they're sending runners to me, or God forbid, a mage taps into my mind and speaks a message, who knows?
Are you like a big cheese there? Are you like Big Gouda?
In a
What
manner
is
of
the rank?
in a
It's a
manner
type
of
of
speaking,
cheese.
he holds up two hands and he says, enlisted and officers are different from each other. In terms of enlisted, sure, I'm somewhat powerful, but if an officer that has just left the Lord's Alliance School of Warfare tells me to jump off a bridge, I just jump off a bridge.
Sounds like a stupid club. If they're telling you to jump off bridges, but you'd probably survive. How high's the bridge?
Yeah. That bridge we
We
fought
should-
on last time was the highest I've ever
should-
I've ever considered.
Good thing no one told you to jump off of it.
Indeed.
Well,
But you
so
bring
you're
up
just hanging out?
yeah, yes, and you do bring up a good point. I have really no reason to be following you, but let me put it this way. You people are some of the most powerful people I've ever seen. Back when I was with and he sort of like scratches his face and chuckles to himself a bit. Back when I was still with my people, we had this term for these people that followed in our wake called rot eaters. Whenever whenever a war band sweeps through a region, they don't get everything. They don't pick up every piece of gold, every weapon. And there's always people following in our wake and picking up the scraps. And you can consider me that if you wish. And he sort of like lowers his head a bit. And
So you're like our little lobster. You just kind of like eat what falls to the bottom.
Or shrimp.
Well, he's bigger than a shrimp, so I was giving him lobster.
He's also
He's
bigger than a
also bigger
lobster.
than a lobster. Jinx.
I know one
Well,
reason why
he's
he's still
definitely
High
following
five.
us.
Pan
He's
high five.
definitely bigger than definitely bigger than a shrimp.
I know one reason why he's still following us. He's still dying to have a match with me.
I don't know. The
he,
dying is the word you want to use there.
Oh yeah, me too.
Okay, I'll just end that there.
we need to find out the logistics of that, but let's
I
save it
just-
for tomorrow.
I just want to see if Max can punch harder than me. I doubt it, but maybe.
I can punch more than you.
Yeah, I didn't say more. I said harder.
Perhaps an after dinner activity?
We can hit Umbra and let him like.
No.
I'll just choose
Yeah,
silence and
feedback.
see how well everybody hits.
Why are you
That's a
being
good
mean?
idea.
Why would she
That's a
even
good
the
idea.
playing field, I think is what you meant to say.
Yeah.
No.
Don't we want everybody to just only use their inherent skills, not the
No,
equipment
no
they
one
have?
said that. No one
Everyone
said that
take
ever.
off their armor. Take off.
No one said that ever. No, that was never. No.
Erastus is fine using his armor. I shoot you a smirk.
Yeah,
Erastus.
I built it. It took a lot of time to build it. Just like it took him a lot of time to learn how to put his head back on and like do flips and stuff.
Unfortunately, I haven't learnt how to put my head back on myself.
One day.
Still in the process.
You
Hopefully.
noticed, everyone notices as they're discussing things that another person has now come up through the teleportation circle. And as he does, Zyle says, "Oh, our guest has arrived." He said, "This is somewhat new, but I assure you, this is one of the reasons why we charge the amount that we charge. We used to do something differently, but now that we have," and he points over to the city and points over to that strange planar fire wall that exists and goes all the way up to the heavens. He says, "This is also this will serve two purposes. Number one, this is the only way to serve the next dish. But number two, you are going to see from a very rare angle what we've been seeing now for months. And it always happens at the same time." And as he says this, he points over to the gentleman in an entirely white cloak. This gentleman is not only is he dressed in completely white, but it is kind of like a wizard's cowl. His face is somewhat hidden, and you notice anyone with a passive perception above 15 will notice that he has a pendant on that looks like an hourglass. And he says, "Now, I want everyone to brace yourselves because this is somewhat dramatic. But when everyone's ready, and feel free to discuss among yourselves still too. Just let me know when the time is. This man is very, very expensive, however, and we only get to use his services once. But once this is done, once you're ready, please let me know, and your show will begin shortly.
Chris, do I recognize the hourglass?
Make an Arcana check. This is not a school of magic that you would know about, but make an Arcana check on literally just like his presence. See if you-
Hello,
32.
Yeah.
Umbra's here.
You got a 32?
32.
Yeah. So this is completely not a school of magic that you're familiar with, but you do notice his weave fluctuation moves much, much, much slower than anyone you have ever dealt with in your entire life. So even though you don't know what school of magic this is, it certainly has something to do with time, given that there's also an hourglass. So that's all you would
Okay.
know.
Very good. Thank you.
And he says, so this next dish can only be cooked in this way. As a matter of fact, we didn't have this a year ago, and I promise you, it is. Even though this is not our star dish, this is by far the most dramatic. So, is everyone ready?
Oh, Max
Pan's gonna
will,
look to the group and be like, "Yeah, I believe I'm ready."
unless
Yeah,
anyone has anything else to say, I believe we're ready.
yeah.
Okay.
Sio's gonna call Kiri back to her and just
Okay.
have him sit in her lap, and his little head just like lolls over the table to kind of watch this guy as he makes essentially
Sure.
Kiri's next meal.
Yeah. So he puts his hands up, and he says, if you can, if possible, and he says this all in common, please stay completely still for the next 30 seconds or so. And as he does this, he says a somatic component that no one has ever heard before. It's obviously, you can tell it's a magical somatic component that he's speaking off some kind of runes or weave language, but it's something that no one's ever heard before ever. And as he does this, everyone notices that the sky itself above you shifts slightly. You see the moon actually move across the sky to some degree, and you notice across where you're looking at that the uh, that there is what looks like a very, very like intense pulse of prismatic fire heat that's coming through the wall. Now, as this is happening, in a very quick succession, almost a split second, you notice that there's a contraption that's built into the table that was actually built underneath it, and it extends. And it's a glass contraption. It extends, and it looks like it has what some kind of like magnifying glass that splits off into each of your dishes there. And then you notice that the staff itself, almost instantly, it's actually kind of frightening. The staff around you impossibly quickly puts your plates to in front of you, and as the plates hit, there's something on them, but it happens in a split second. It's impossible to go. It's almost like we're watching a video and we've skipped 800 frames, and now 800 frames have all happened in the equivalent of 1 frame per second. You see everyone there, and then this giant heat, basically piece of the wall hits hits the glass structure, and then splits out, and time starts to slow down now so you can see it, splits out into each of the dishes, including an empty dish that he set up. As a matter of fact, by the way, guys, Gretna's stuff is always, because Max paid for it, they're still making a table for Gretna, and all of her food was there, so anyone could have eaten her stuff. It's part of the package. They won't
But
cheat you on it.
but
They
you
are going
said
to.
you said when we got here that there were exactly enough spaces for us.
Yeah, I know. I messed up. So essentially, there are exactly enough spaces for you. There was an empty space with no chair, because he would always make food
Okay.
for yeah. That was my bad. It was.
Then I
We are
say,
retconning that.
can we
Yeah,
retcon it and say that we were giving the food to Kiri?
yeah. That's totally fine. There is no chair set up there now, but there are enough plates where he's always going to do an extra plate for you, and it'll be the same for this.
Okay.
And and so as and so as this goes through, and as this happens, that heat ends up searing, and now that it's slowed down, you can see it. Some kind of piece of meat at your table, and it happens very, very quickly, and then it's over. And then everything goes back, and time starts to function normally. And at the end, he says, "Well, thank you. Don't be alarmed. Uh, 3, maybe 4 hours have passed, given what I believe has happened." And then you start to put it together. He slowed down time to all of you in your perspective, and almost froze things. Somehow he was able to also determine that it was only in this like space of the table, so he must have like a radius for this. And he was also able to choose people that were not affected by this spell, so that all of the staff were able to go through it. And then Zyles pipes in and he says, "So what you just witnessed is a unbelievably marvelous, very, very rare effect that only happens at 3 a.m." And he points to the wall behind us. He says, and as he's talking, the penultimate like measure of this starts to happen. So yes, the wall has heated up and has now started to be very vibrant in colors, but you can see through the wall a ethereal golden city with one impossibly large red Jinn sitting on an impossibly large golden throne behind it, but it's blurry because it's wavy and it's going through that. And you see this city is massive, massive, and every structure is made out of gold. Some might be made out of brass, but of course you can't tell through this. It looks like the entire city is made of gold. And there are ethereal beings like Genasi and other things, no humans, going through this area, but then it churns out in like a minute. But everyone can see this happening. And that's where so he was siphoning off a small little piece of the wall to cook your food, essentially.
Hmm.
And he did it, and he needed to forward time because he needed it to be the exact hour. Zyles explains all this. He needs it to be the exact hour. Otherwise, that pulse will not exist, and it's too far away, too dangerous, too hot. They can't siphon the energy back to your food. What's in front of you is a very, very tender, completely perfectly seared, very small piece of meat. It's around the size of, if you imagine the size of maybe 4 or 5 silver dollars, if you put them like all around so you have a bigger circle. It's around that size. So it's like 10 ounces of meat. It's not very much, maybe 8 ounces. And it's some kind of like steak or something that's medium rare that he has cooked for you like this. Also, by the way, just so you know, Gretna, at this point it is 3 a.m. That would be around the time that you came back, as an FYI.
Ooh, you can't get into the room either.
So no, that's the first thing you'll notice is that when you come downstairs, you can't get into the room. Zyles does have someone downstairs in the front desk. If you explain this to him, he is going to tell you that everyone is eating dinner, and if you'd like, he motions to the circle. You can come join them. There is no chair for you, but you don't know that, so yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of hungry. Sure.
Ooh, she's gonna walk
Okay.
in, and the pseudo
All
dragon's
right,
gonna be
so
eating her
you
dinner.
guys notice at this point, you guys notice that Gretna does walk into the teleportation circle. Sure enough, everyone is sitting this very elaborate round table. That's actually
round
got like
table.
gold gilded on the sides of it and some metallic veins running through it. There is no chair, but there is an extra place sitting there. As you come in, the staff notice that, and Zyles said, "Oh yes, that seat is paid for." And he says, "Go, go, 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 go." And they do go down and they grab you a chair. They grab you a chair, Gretna, and they let you sit down.
The
I thought you were
softest
saying
pillow.
go to me.
But it is 3 in the morning. So he tells you it's around 3 in the morning. The spell is not exact; it never is. But they know it's around 3 in the morning because the event went off. So
A super soft pillow, which is probably exactly what Gretna needs right about now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no.
He's limping.
Yeah, what are these chairs made out of?
We've never
the
felt them
chairs
before.
the chairs are the pillows on the chairs are actually made out of silk with actual goose feathers that have been the actual stems of the goose feathers have been cut off so that they can't actually stick you. Like, it's really, really fancy chairs. They are impossibly comfortable.
Good.
Yep.
Oh, hey. Oh, yeah, everybody.
So
Hey,
glad you could join
welcome
us.
back.
Oh, very nice. You were
Yeah,
able
I'm
to
How-
glad
make it.
too.
How was your night?
Did you have fun?
Informative.
How was your meal?
Was he cool?
Delicious. Yes. He's very.
Wait. Which one?
Huh?
Huh?
Please, don't mind me.
Yeah.
Do you want
let's
wine?
let's not pry.
Well, you made it by the third course.
You want chocolate
Oh.
milk?
Hmm?
We have
No.
a
Oh,
wonderful collection of drinks.
okay.
And sorry, Kiri had picked at your food. We didn't know if you were coming, and we didn't think time would elapse until 3 a.m. But here, and Sia will mage hand the plate that I imagine got set in front of Kiri at some point, and she's gonna take the parts of the food Kiri has already eaten off of Gretna's plate, but she'll mage hand her plate, her utensils, a goblet of wine.
It's okay. There's no reason you should have known that I was going to come.
Yeah, Curie, by the way, looks super sad. He's like almost in tears, and he's looking at you like, "What? That's mine? That's mine." But
What's
yeah, you'll
mine
have
is
to
yours.
explain to Curie. Yeah.
Yeah, she's just gonna say, "Well, what's mine is yours, and Gretna's here now, and you can have my meal. I'm pretty full." And she'll just kind of position everything to be in front of Kiri, and like a child will just cut his meal for him and let him eat.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, he's happy. He lays back at the table and he gets ready to eat again.
Well, that was cool. Apparently, I don't know why. I thought like magic like that was a lot more rare than I guess it's actually turning out to be.
You've seen
Uh,
that type of magic before?
Well, I just mean, generally everywhere we go, there's like a super powerful spellcaster. And I always grew up thinking that it would take a long, long time to cast really regular spells. But it just seems, I don't know, maybe weed is a bad luck.
Do you say that openly, Erasmus? Are you saying that
Yeah.
like privately or openly? Yeah, so he Zyles says, "Oh, no, that's fine. Before you leave," and he points to the mage. He says, "Do you care to these people seem to have some kind of like inclination in magic themselves?" He says, "I am correct in that, yes?"
You were correct.
A little. Why?
he says do you have any questions about what expired, like what transpired here? He said, I'm very, very confident that you probably never heard of what I've done, but
No.
I'm willing to answer questions.
Is there a
No.
name for the spell that you did?
He looks at you kind of in like disbelief, and he says, I can't actually give you the name of my spells, but he said, you're familiar though? He says
Cr-
you're familiar with chronomancy?
Oh, I was about to
Sometimes
ask.
it's called dunamancy. He said, I'd be shocked if you were.
What could I roll? Could we roll for
Yeah,
it?
go for it. Go for it. Yeah.
I'm
History
assuming
or
Arcana.
It's you can do history or arcana. They give you different things. Yeah.
oh, that's the wrong character.
I actually am. I
Yep.
would love to hear more about your. I motion to the necklace.
Aren't we victims of it?
We're always victims.
Victims.
I mean, 50 years? You'd be dead, Erasmus.
Arrest rolled a natural one.
Okay.
He hit the food.
I mean, it's not something. It's not even something that you're truly familiar with. This form of magic, you would think is made up. But you saw what he did, so obviously he has something. He didn't do he. This is what you know, Erasmus. He did not do time stop.
Okay.
He also, you would know that just from your research. You would
Pancake my
also
ass.
know, yeah, you would also know that that if he's specializing in a school like this, um, it even though it's possible he is powerful, like maybe like out of game level 10 powerful or so, it is possible that he's also like a one trick pony in this case too. That's what you would guess, but
I rolled a natural one and Pan rolled a 15.
So Pan, the only thing that you would get out of this is that he
On Arcana,
is.
specifically.
Yep. Yeah. Is that he was casting a higher level spell slot than you have access to, and you
Mm.
would know this inherently. He is doing that. Also, you would know that the kind of spell that he did was very strange and foreign, and it's very, very possible that it's somewhat taxing on him. So
Mm.
you would know all that with a 15.
I would love to know where you're drawing your energy from.
He looks at you and he says, "Oh," he says, "It's actually, this is why I'm a little pricey." And he looks at Ziles, and he says, I don't know exactly how much. I mean, I know you're paying me well, but you have to understand that there's laws that I have to abide by when it comes to information." But he looks at all of you, and he says, "If you're really, really, really curious and serious about learning the secrets of this kind of magic," he says, there's two places that I can direct you to." He said, "First and foremost, you should come see the scribes at Candlekeep. That's actually where I grew up." He says, but if you're serious about studying," he says, "well, he says, have you ventured to Waterdeep before?"
I went through it once.
I have not.
He says,
Neither have
says,
I.
well,
I saw Candlekeep too, but I
he
didn't
says,
go in.
he
They
says,
told me no.
he says, well, 50 years ago, an
I was
event
there.
happened. An event happened on an island that most people have never even heard of, called Lantern. There's a bunch of gnomes there. There's some kind of school for.
I'm gonna choke on my chocolate milk.
Yep. He said around 50 years ago, an event happened there. Right off the coast, people started essentially walking through a rift onto the water and onto that island. They made a deal with the headmasters there, because they were in a bit of a bind. They were coming. They claimed that the rumor is that they were coming from another world, um, and they were refugees. And sure enough, They were escorted back to Waterdeep. And Waterdeep, if you know the right people and can ask around, there's an entire mage school that devotes its entire person to this. And this is kind of, he said, so my journey is a bit different, and that's all I can really say. But and I've probably given you, to be honest, too much information. But I can tell you this: there's a reason. And he looks at you, Pan, because he saw that you were trying to figure this out. He looks at you, Rastus. He even looks at you, Umbra, and he says, "There's a reason why there's a reason why when you try to restructure what I'm doing, especially when you're actually trying to see my semantic components reach out to the weave, there's a reason it's so foreign." I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Hey, can I get some more chocolate milk?
Yep.
This, it all came out of my nose.
And Ziles says, here at the Mystic Inn, we spare no expense. Um, I have long been let's say, how should I put this without sounding creepy about it? But I've long just been fascinated about magic in general, and it takes quite a bit of money to kind of get into those circles. And as he says this, the guy looks at him and kind of like groans, and he says, "Okay, well, thank you for the payment." Um, and he says, "By the way," he says, "I'll be completely honest with all of you." And he says this in front of Ziles. He says, "Ziles pays really, really well. And magic, as you know, is incredibly expensive. But that's pretty much the only reason why we work with this guy." And he walks through the portal as he says that. And Ziles says,
As he's heading
as it,
off, I'll just sort of give him a wave. Thank you for the show.
Yes, it was
Yep.
incredible.
Yeah, he says no. That's he does acknowledge that. He does acknowledge that. And Zion says, "Well, that was incredibly rude." He says, "But he's terribly sorry about that. But yes, it is very, very hard to find a Dunamancer." And what he does is also on top of that, we have to find one that we actually trust, because God forbid you saw what happened. Like we have to make sure that these are people that we can actually trust for our very valued guests. And he looks over. He says, "I'm terribly sorry for his rudeness, but what he does is very unique, and it did take me 3 years to find a wizard such as this. We didn't actually use it for this though. We actually used to serve a fermented dish, and it takes around 3 to 4 hours for the fermentation process to start. And we used to actually just do the spells on objects, but of course, this was too good of an opportunity to mess up." And he points to the wall, and he says, "It's yeah." He looks at the device. He says, and he points to you, Erasmus. He says, that is from Lantan. He says, we have a good connection with that island. There've been a couple people that have come through that have been very, very helpful for me in my business, and this is one of their inventions."
Might I ask, do you know why the wall does that?
Okay.
He says, "Well," he says, "yes." He says, "Yes and no." It's actually kind of a tragic story. So he says the city used to be much, much bigger. I don't know who is actually who you've talked to in town, but it's kind of tragic because we have no idea if anyone else is alive or dead beyond that wall, unfortunately. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure that the Jinn have come down to wreak terrible, terrible vengeance on the Chosen of El Mater and a bunch of that nonsense that went down, the freeing of the slaves and all that. He says, and this is what happens when you mess with powerful, powerful beings. For all we know, everyone in the wards is burnt to a crisp and dead. We don't actually know. As a matter of fact, uh, it's interesting because Kalimport is a vast trade city, and so far no one's even come to actually do like a proper investigation. He says, "I did hear you talking about the Lord's Alliance. You'd be surprised. In Kalimport, you're not the only one." And he says, and sure enough, nothing, nothing, no one's come to help. No one's come to investigate. And I think that's probably smart because you have to understand the beings that we are dealing with are on another level of dangerous and finite and obsolete, and their will is 100% just rule in law. If he says, I don't want to make this dramatic, but if the Jinn ever decided to leave Kalimshan and just take over Faerun, what would ever stop them? And he says, fortunately, it
Wow.
seems like they're leaving us alone, though.
Thanks for this during our nice dinner.
He says no. He says that you are right, and I am terribly sorry. Where are my manners? He said I did want to explain this to you because I did want to be honest. I didn't want you to think because of what that gentleman said that there was any reason to not trust me or any of that nonsense. But the truth is that I will always, always, always be honest with any information. And he looks at you, Max, and he says, I am so terribly sorry for souring the mood on your dinner.
It's all right. I asked the question. I'm just very curious about it because um, I read once that Jinn were essentially wish granters almost,
Now,
and I'm
he says there's a long history to this. He says he looks at the table. He's like, if you really want to know, I have lived here my entire life. I lived under the rule of Jinn, and I can tell you what happened. But I don't want to ruin anything if people don't want to hear this.
yeah. So the thought just came to me that if such a being is so powerful, then there seems to be like if he's conjuring that massive wall of flame, then there is an opening. And just sort of whispered to himself.
He said the key is the Genasi. He said that's why it's so unfair that the city kicks them out and basically thinks they're the cause of this. It's not fair to them. The Genasi are the only reason, as a matter of fact, the Jinn don't take over Faerun. You see, yes, there is a reason why you hear stories of Jinn only granting wishes and being trapped in objects and all of that. It's only a half truth. The Jinn do not serve people, and I can tell you this from firsthand experience. They are dangerous and powerful and probably cannot be beat. That said, there are tricks to the Jinn thanks to the Genasi that keep them in check.
Oh, good to know. I might look into it. Thank you for that.
Also, Umbra's just gonna pipe up for a second and just go, just be careful about what you say about them to certain people. I know that they have remote powers. If you say something they don't like, they can.
Oh yes, he says yes. See that's the other thing. So he says I will be honest with you. Um so you must have somehow come across one of those devices that they that are in certain buildings that they actually sell. Um yes, he says I honestly I'd stay away from shops like that if I were you, to be honest, but do as you wish though. It's not my place. But if you really want to know though, see the Jinn, for the most part, leave people alone that respect them, and they know that my business and my personal affinity for them is of the utmost respect. I respect them greatly. They value respect over everything else.
That's good to know.
But the Jinn that's doing this is not from Faerun. He doesn't live in Faerun. I can't speak too much about this because I would go into the realm of disrespecting him, but I can tell you this. I can tell you this. Yeah, he does not live here. As a matter of fact, I'm confident that wall is summoned from where he lives. If you did you see that city that we saw briefly? That's where the Jinn lives, not here.
I see. Well, thank you for that. How's everyone's third course?
So he says, oh my goodness, I'm talking way too much. He says, so does anyone have any questions about the dish?
It was one.
Chakaloos is already done, and he says, "Is that it?"
Oh,
What
it
type of
is
steak
it
was
is
it?
right. Okay, so it tastes it does taste like it tastes a bit gamey, and it has a very buttery, very also fat driven content within the steak. It is impossibly tender, especially the way that it was cooked. So it's just seared off. It tastes really good for a steak. And he explains that this steak is a rare beast. Um, and he says it's actually an illegal delicacy. But in Kalimport it's legal, but in most of Faerun it's not. And he tells you that that was he is serving you green dragon.
That's
Ooh, yummy.
That was Kaylee choking on her drink. But Sio's absolutely going to take the bite she was going to put in her mouth and put it back on the plate and kind of look at her pseudo dragon that's conveniently.
Yeah, I'm doing that. I'm locking eyes with the pseudo dragon and just smiling.
Carrie looks at you and he says, "That is not nice, mommy.
Ghost
That
of
is
Christmas
not
future.
nice." Yeah, and he starts looking at the meat and he goes, "That is not nice."
You're delicious.
It.
No, he says he does he and Zyles says, so in Kalimport, this is how this works. Anytime there is a young dragon that
We
that
put it down and eat that shit.
yeah, anytime there's a young dragon that threatens any of the city's inhabitants or any of the surrounding areas inhabitants in all of Kalimshan, there are dragon riders, dragon hunters that are set up specifically to nullify the threat. Now, the meat is only for the royalty, but I have my sources, and this is impossibly expensive at times, but I was able to secure you in a very rare delicacy tonight.
Well, at the very least, we do appreciate the effort you've gone through.
There won't be any more dragon, will there?
No, that's the only course, unfortunately. That's also, by the way, very. If I did dragon for the entire meal, I'd be broke, and of course would have to charge you maybe 10 times the amount. So no.
All right,
Max chokes on his drink.
There's no Triton, is there?
No, of course not. No, there is one. However, near the
Something
end,
like that.
there is one more very, very rare delicacy, and I always warn people before, because even when I tell you what it is, you're still going to not want to try it, but I assure you it is amazing. And he says, has anyone ever heard of the dangerous and impossibly elusive creature called the Beholder?
Have I heard of it?
There's some actually no, absolutely, in your books you've heard of beholders, yes.
I think you
Yes.
mentioned.
Yeah, so Umbra would know without making a check. Other
I don't
people
think Max
can
would.
make this. Yeah.
Would CEO
But
know?
I'll
Because
make a
What
check
kind of check?
anyway.
History?
You could make a history check to see, because they have done things in history that are semi-famous. What were you saying, Seal?
would CEO innately know what it is, since that was one of the icons on the mistress's rod, and that was one
Yeah.
of the only 3 things I knew.
Yes. Yeah, you can know this. That's fine, Seal. You can know what a beholder is. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I'm just gonna say Shakulu doesn't know what that is, just as a character point.
He says, so he does say, if anyone's curious, he says a beholder is a planar being, and you can make meat out of the eye stalks, which is a small piece that you'll have tonight. If you, he says, I didn't realize there were any dietary restrictions, and he looked to you, and Max. He says, if there are, I am so terribly sorry. Please forgive me. If anyone does not want to try the beholder, by all means, that is your will and your right, and I of course will not force you to do anything you don't want to do.
I'm good with the dragon, thanks.
Yeah.
He says
CEO
it is interesting, right? He says it's not what you expect at all. It's incredibly, it's got a taste that I can't even put my.
Tastes
It's
like
very
rabbit.
strange. Yeah, it's very strange. It's a little gamey, but very buttery. Very yeah. It's very different.
Right.
Tastes like
Different. It is that, indeed. And CEO is gonna put her fork like on the edge of the plate and kind of just gently push the plate away from her. And
Yeah.
she's going to motion to Erastus to give her one of the drunk strawberries for the pseudo dragon.
Yeah. I don't have
Carrie,
any.
so before you say that, by the way, Carrie says, "Mommy, I tell you what I'm gonna do to make myself feel better. I'm gonna go fly over to that man. I'm gonna sting him in his face."
Oh my god.
Absolutely not, my love. Absolutely not. That's very rude.
He says, "Yes, but mommy, he's going to chop me up and eat my head."
He would not do that because you know what he said? He said they do that to bad dragons. And you're not a bad dragon, are you, Kira?
He says,
Oh god damn
no,
it.
but he says no, but well, yeah. He
Kinda
said that's
hate Carrie
right.
now.
If it is a bad dragon, and it did hurt someone and bite their face off, then yes, I guess you could eat it. He
Kiri,
says, yeah, that's a good point.
we all like this dragon so much, Kiri becomes a trusted companion and also emergency food.
Over CEO's actual dead body.
I think Erastus has more meat on him.
Yeah, we can make a lot of soup.
I
out
think
of
you can't kill Erastus as easy as you can kill Kiri.
He comes in his own
That's
pot.
definitely true.
Jesus.
I'll ask the mistress about that. Next time you show up, I'm just going to ask her to turn you into a nice soup.
She likes my moxie.
Good soup.
She does not like it enough to not kill you next time.
That just means she's gonna turn you into a soda.
What?
That's
What?
called soup.
There's
I
a
don't get
soda
the
named
reference.
Moxie?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's like northeastern United States, I should say.
Super local reference.
Bad, don't get it.
He says,
Yeah, apparently it's very
so
bad. I've never had it.
He says, is everyone ready for the next course? He says, we have a couple left.
Well,
He says
we were
there are
kind of
4
doing
left.
a thing where we all vented per course, and we've kind of just like blown through the 3 courses.
Yeah, of course. He says, no, we can wait. You just let me know when you're ready.
I'm
Is
ready
the wine
whenever.
on the table? Is there actually alcohol around here or not?
Oh, yeah. So that's the other thing. There are people serving the table as well. Every single course, I have been doing a very good job at poorly explaining this, but every single course is paired with a different wine now. He doesn't let you choose anymore. This course was paired with a very fruity but fully like very heavy like Cabernet red style wine. There is wine in front of you, and Greta, you can have as much wine as you'd like.
Okay.
They will refill it. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
just gonna keep with the chocolate milk.
CEO's on her 3rd glass at this point. She's stopped eating. She's now solely drinking.
So who wants to talk?
Before we start talking, I just wanted to ask, how is the beholder sourced? How do you
He
pick
says, and I'm not saying this to be facetious or anything, but very, very carefully. Beholder meat is actually something that we have to find and market. We can't just go out and hunt them. They're much too dangerous. I don't know if you know anything about them, but they are impossible to beat in that respect. Yeah, they can't be hunted. Certainly, there's no one that I would be able to pay that would take up a contract like that. So instead, what we do is we find a reputable source, meaning we have to go through again mages, and we're able to source this meat. This actually did come from a source that we've gathered in Neverwinter through the Arcane Brotherhood, as a matter of fact.
Just real quick, does Max know what beholders are? I rolled a 16 on history.
Oh yeah,
You've
Pan got a
heard
nat
of
20.
beholders. And okay, so both of you have heard of beholders. You know they have many different eye stalks. You know that they can do things like paralyze people. Pan, you would know that beholders are an extraplanar being that is incredibly smart, but also intensely paranoid. Most of the time, in all the stories you've read, the beholders win. Every time you face up against a beholder, they're incredibly smart. They've planned for these things. That there are very, 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 very famous beholders as well. With the Nat 20, you would know that there is rumored to be a beholder that actually runs out of Waterdeep called Xanthar.
Mm-hmm.
So they do sometimes go into human settlements as well, but only very rarely. And they have to be somewhat deranged to do that as well, because beholders will never trust anyone, including other beholders. So that's the only reason why they haven't kind of banded together and taken over the world. It's because they are so intensely paranoid that they can't. But if all the beholders in favor right now were to work together, the world would be screwed. That would be a very bad thing. So anyway, it's very hard to get this. This is like a
depressing
priceless thing.
fucking dinner.
Yeah.
The world hangs by a thread at any moment. Anyway, for the
we've
fourth
been told
course.
that the world's like gonna blow up 3 different times during this dinner.
But I feel like we've all been to hell and back, quite literally in some cases. That
I've been
we
there twice.
yeah, we don't believe it at this point. It's like, yeah, that sounds pretty bad, but we've survived like 3 Earth-ending events, so we're fine.
You know what I just realized
What's
from
Earth?
Gage saying like from Gage saying like, oh, it feels like the world is gonna end. Imagine eating a dinner like this and you just have the news blaring on a TV right next to you. This isn't that far off.
Well, the funny thing is that Xiles will tell you this at some point, so all of you know this. You are now in a very exclusive club of probably 1% of 1% of 1% that have ever eaten anything like this ever. So in all of the entire world, the amount of dinners they do like this are first of all, they can't do them all the time because they can't source it, and when they do, it's expensive, as you guys found out, for dinner. So this is rare. So you have to understand that less than 10,000 people in all of Favorite have ever experienced what you guys are doing. So even, and that includes like people like Lord Neverember and stuff. Like this is very exclusive.
Okay.
You can now use this as a life experience when you're talking to other wealthy nobles, for instance, people that would be in the know of something that they would want to do to impress them or whatever. This would be one of those events. So.
I don't really want to be friends with people that find things like this important. I'd rather talk about where we've gone and what we've done, not how smart the creatures we've eaten are.
You'd be surprised, I think. Some of those people are good people. They just don't have their priorities straight.
It's very uncomfortable.
I mean, everybody has their good parts and their bad parts. Just because they think something like this is important doesn't mean they don't have other redeeming qualities.
I think this course left a bit of a sour taste.
Was your meat not good?
Mouths. Why don't we start the next
Thought it
course?
was great.
It was wonderful.
As you say that, he does say, "Do you want to skip the beholder dish?" I will absolutely do that. If
Can we
that's what the group wants.
substitute it?
I would like to try
I think I would like to try the beholder.
I know that they kind of mess with your
I like
noggin.
I like
don't.
I like
Is,
taking. I
is it
like
a
trying new
psychedelic?
things.
Is it a psychedelic?
When else are we
He
going
says
to have
that's.
this
He says
opportunity?
as you say that, he says, "Wait until you try it." That's actually part of the surprise, and I didn't want to spoil
Nah.
anything.
No, I don't want to see my brain fuck with me. No, it's no.
Well, now I want to try it even more.
I'm
I'd
going to
be
keep my
willing to
wits
try
about
that.
me and skip it.
Max
Yeah.
is just secretly thinking to himself,
We have
"Okay,
a
it'll
we
be
have a lot.
good. It,
We have
it'll be good food, and if it fucks with mine, this will be good training."
me and Umbra have a lot to lose in that department.
It's true.
Yeah, Sia doesn't. She'll try it. She drew the line at the dragon. The holder's on the table.
Speaking of,
So-
sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Well, go ahead. Go ahead.
I just want to say, speaking of which, Umbra, is your plan still to go back home?
What?
Did Umber
Absolutely
ever
not.
plan to go back home? I
Did
thought
you?
he specifically said that he would never want to.
I thought he said when we found him, he wanted to fix all the shit and make it better.
While we were still there.
Well, yeah, you know, he can go back and do that at the end of the campaign. That's what our ass is getting at.
I think you're thinking very far in the future, and
Yeah.
I think the best thing that can happen there is nothing goes in and nothing comes out.
Or you get a little bit of power and you go and you shellac that son of a gun who's running the show.
I don't think I will shellac that much power.
Well, maybe you're selling yourself short, or maybe I'm overestimating you. But I was just looking optimistically.
I didn't get this far by taking that many chances.
Okay, then what is your plan then?
That's a good idea. What is my plan? Well,
Wait, is this the first time that this has been brought to your attention?
I want to
He
see
said
the
it
world.
before. He wants adventure.
I want to travel with you all. You're the only connection to this world I have. I want to see Neverwinter and Waterdeep and Baskin and all the cities that I've read about for my entire life, but I've never gotten a chance to see. I want to try food of creatures that are not intelligent and see far-off lands that I've only read about.
Well,
and
if
learn
you're looking
amazing spells.
for the non-intelligent food, you're like 50-50 on this meal.
Yes. Normally I would probably I think it's very difficult on where to draw the line and what things are good and what things are bad. I think it's gray.
Cool. Well, yeah, we know where you came from. Well,
You know.
some of us know where you came from because we were there.
Does everyone know? I guess we do have a few new faces since then.
Yeah. I've hinted at it, not so subtly. It's very sad. Very sad place.
Oh,
Depression.
He had a door that was worth like a house.
oh yes.
You still owe me that fucking door, by the way.
Hey, you can go back and get it if you can find
No,
it. It's
you.
fucking
No,
yours.
you.
I don't want to go back there. You can keep it.
No, I don't want your door anymore. I can make the door now.
But then make it. But yes,
Yeah.
it's a long story. But no one, look, like I said, no one wants to hear my story. Not here during a wonderful dinner. I'm just going to bring the mood down.
Can't be any worse than genie destruction. And I would know. I was there.
I mean, no one, everyone knows my story, right?
Shakulu, like he at this point he's like rubbing his finger on the plate and like licking them because it was barely any meat by his standards. And when he hears that like no one knows my story, he like perks up and he just waves.
Look, either you tell him or I tell him, and you're not gonna like the way I
Okay.
tell it.
That's exactly what I don't want. So and you see he tries to formulate his thoughts and takes a long, nervous breath in.
And while you're like pausing, Erasmus will just go, "Okay, so he
I was
started
born in a far village, far away from here. It found itself caught in the tides of war between the ruling kingdom and a neighbor beyond the mountains. Both of these kingdoms were led by powerful wizards, which was part of the reason I was put off so much by that groan. They were both necromancers, especially cruel ones. My mother's name was Bara, my father's name was Weller, and they both died when I was quite young. I left town soon after, and I chose to live in the surrounding woods as opposed to within the city proper. And after I lived in those woods, wrought with unspeakable monsters, I spent 16 years out there in a wooden treehouse overlooking a trade road in a clearing on the outskirts of the valley in which one of the kingdoms sat in. And about once a month, I would sneak back into town to stock up on supplies, visit a friend within the city who would let me study in his private collection. And he glances at Sia with a half-raised eyebrow.
She finishes her glass of wine.
Yeah.
And I'm almost entirely self-taught. I never attended an academy or received an apprenticeship. All the spells I compiled, all the magic I learned, I did so with scraps on the outskirts of a town that outlawed paper and writing utensils. I would watch that nearby town deploy battalions of soldiers to charge over the mountains into the neighboring kingdom. I never saw any of the men come back, and neither side ever won. And that was my life for 16 stressful, sleepless years, surrounded by death and monsters and torment. That entire valley was a nightmare, and I couldn't trek beyond to the mountains. And then one day, I was making my way into town, and who do I see fall out of thin air but the most out-of-place crowd I had ever had the wonderful displeasure of laying my eyes on.
I raise my glass. I take a drink.
Pan does
Same.
as well,
Barring,
yeah.
barring a few new additions, of course. And with the help of you all, I finally got to say farewell to that valley and that town and those awful kingdoms. And you see he starts to like kind of reminisce, and well, the rest is history, I suppose. I think it's easy to get bogged down in what we've gone through, but we're all survivors. It wasn't until I was on the outside of that whole situation that I could have ever contemplated how I lived like that for so long. And even now, I wonder how long I would have lasted like that, muddling along, if we never did cross paths. And he kind of scooches his chair back and stands, and you don't know the wine, but his eyes are glassy. And he holds it up with a tired smile. And I know we already did a toast, but here's to the people we once were, the people we are, and the people we one day will be. And here's to the miraculous intersection of all three of those in the here and now. I'm forever grateful that our when and wheres lined up so perfectly.
What's
Uh,
next?
Shakulu, he raises the glass and takes a sip and says, "I'm going to be honest. I've known mages to have a way with words, but it's rare that you see it in action. Um,
Yeah,
I
you're a
am
good storyteller.
I am very honored and humbled."
Umber does like a little kind of like bow, but the table's right in front of him, so he just kind of bow. I don't get to speak a lot, especially to crowds.
Well, yeah, you really have to pry it out of you.
Max will stand up and raise his glass, matching Umbra, and he'll say, "What you just said confirmed my suspicions. If I were to go into a battle with you and you'd had time to prepare, I never would be able to beat you. You are far more cunning and knowledgeable than I can ever attain to be, and you are a valuable friend and ally to this group. And though you do not speak much, I get the feeling this group wouldn't be the same without you.
I'll choose that as well.
Agreed. And Sia will stand up and raise her glass as well. Although perhaps it would be easier for us to make toasts if we finally decided on a name for our band of companions.
No,
Let's get
Erasmus.
let's get more drunk for that.
I didn't say nothing.
No.
I said
Let's get more
nothing.
No.
drunk for that.
I don't want to like force your hand or anything, but since I feel like everyone is drinking copiously just because of what's
I
been
got chocolate
happening.
milk.
Okay, most everyone's been drinking copiously. So Chris, if it like I don't want to speak for everybody, but I feel like everyone would be okay if Chris, you just wanted to start throwing out con saves for drunkenness at some point.
They're small
Yeah.
pours. They're small pours, right?
Yeah. So far,
Stop ruining it,
surprisingly,
dude.
surprisingly though, no one has to make a con save. You could ask, by the way, why that would be, because normally around 3 glasses, so everyone gets a heads up on this. Like anytime you take more than 2-3 beers, it'll be the same thing. You do actually have to make con saves. No one's drunk yet. You
Oh,
do
that's
feel good, but no one's drunk.
Okay,
that's
so it's doing something, right?
okay.
Yeah, it's doing
Yeah.
something, but no one is drunk yet. You can, but you could, so you would know, like all of you would know that the amount of alcohol that you consumed, you feel like you might be more off than you are. You can certainly ask about it if you'd like.
Shakul will definitely ask about that. Well, he won't ask, let's say. He says after what would this be, like the 3rd glass, I believe? He
Well, they
for
don't
some
do
people
full
it's the 4th.
pours for
Yeah.
Yeah.
People it's
each
the
meal,
4th,
do they?
yeah.
I'm on my second.
They do a different glass of wine for each thing. So you either drink your full glass or you let it stay and they go through it. But yes, you do have
They're
a glass
doing-
for each.
Holy
Yeah.
shit, they're doing full pours.
Yeah.
After finishing his 4th glass, Shakalu like sniffs the glass and he sort of grimaces and just says, "This stuff is weak."
He says, "No, I assure you, it's not actually. No." And he takes one of the glasses, and he says, "See, funny thing." He says, if a matter of fact, if you look closely, and sure enough, there is what looks like a vein, and he shows it to you inside the actual glass. The vein, he says, this is kind of a curious thing. It's kind of I'm not exactly sure how this works, to be honest. These are well, expensive allocations, and unfortunately, too, if any, he says, I know I don't have to say this or whatever, but everything that we have up here does stay up here with us. So if you were to try to say, like, pocket one of these, or whatever, we would certainly know. And these are worth much, 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 much more than your dinner. But he says they have, and he points to the very thin vein that's inside the glass, and it goes all the way throughout the cup. He says, see, he says, what these do is they allow you to enjoy copious amounts of alcohol. Matter of fact, it allows you to enjoy twice the amount before you even get sick or completely drunk. These are rare and highly, highly, highly appreciated for most of our customers. He says, if for whatever reason, though, if you really do think the alcohol is weak, by all means, we will pour you alcohol in a different glass. But he says, by the end, sir, I assure you, it will be the same exact effect, though, by the end of this dinner. It just means that you can drink this and not basically get sick.
Shakalu, like, he sort of growls and he like mulls it over in his head and he says, "All right, fine."
And Shikubu, we do have drinks back in our respective rooms. You're more than welcome to come to our collection, and I'm certain between the alchemy jug and what's provided,
He says, no, he says, I assure you, madam, by the end of this course, it will be more than enough. As a matter of fact, once we get through all 7 courses, even with these glasses, you will all, if you of course drink, your glasses will be very, very drunk by the end, I assure you.
being the first time that anyone in the party has ever like, hey man, come on, you're one of us. Shaku like immediately locks eyes with Seo, and like the points of his ears sort of like tilt back a little, and he is very surprised, and he just says, "Thank you, I would like that very much."
Of course. You're still a part of our team, Shakulu. I understand the sentiment that you mentioned earlier of feeling as though you're coming at our heels, but you're a valued member of our group. You saw us through that fight, and honestly, I don't think we would have survived off. Well, as she says survived, she'll glance at Max and then back to her drink and take a sip.
Right, I'm still here.
We wouldn't have weathered the fight without you, and I don't think we would have had exchanges in Nith as frequently if it wasn't for you. So I understand your sentiment, but you're still a valued member of our group, Shakulu. Don't sell yourself so short.
In between, his face like turns a lighter shade of red. You assume that's how he blushes, and but when you bring up like our interactions in Nith wouldn't have gone as well. You hear a sort of like as he like squeezes his glass, and then he lets up and he just snarls to himself and he says, "Pink skins think they run everything." And he shakes off the thought, and he just he grunts and nods, and he says, "Yes, yes, I would very much like some revelry with my companions after this."
Of course. As long as you're open to dancing, because if we're all going to be so inebriated by the end of this, I feel like Pan's going to have to serenade us. And she'll look over to Pan and like give him a wink.
Of course.
You
A
hear,
lullaby from Pan herself? That sounds lovely.
you actually hear a squeak, a small squeak, as he like scoots forward in his chair and becomes visibly excited, and he says, "Oh, my trainers always said never give a sword to a man."
So, you cut out for me. Never give a sword to what?
A man who can't dance.
Ah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll
Good
see
to
how much you deserve a sword then tonight.
Dancing competition?
Sounds like it. Pan's
Dance off? Alright, sounds good.
I can't dance.
Oh.
Alright, Erastus, you can be a judge.
Yes.
Pan and Erastus judge.
He says, "Oh, I'm so sorry to interrupt. Are we ready for the next course, or do we want to speak more?"
I believe we are ready for the next
I
course.
think we're all
Thank you.
excited for this dance competition now. So.
And I think
get nice
Gretna's
and
up
full.
next to talk.
I did send you a message, Chris.
Sorry, I'm not looking at Discord. Hold on one second.
That's alright.
Max is actually poisoning all of us. This is it.
Yeah. As Erastus mentions that, Tia will look to both Erastus and Gretna. That's also true. I mean, the rest of us have shared parts of our own story, but Erastus, besides your mention of your father trying to eat you when you were a hatchling, I don't think we fully understand your
All
story.
know that. They didn't all know
We
that.
do now. Holds up a
Oh,
glass.
that was only.
Don't toast to that. That was traumatic.
No, I
Have we
wasn't
not all
toast.
been sharing our traumatic stories, Erasmus?
Yeah, but we're not toasting to them.
No, Sia
How
wasn't
have we not been
toasting.
toasting?
She was just forgetting that it was only her and Gretna there when you said that.
You
It
say
was
a
a secret. You said it.
You tell
You
your
did.
traumatic backstory, and then you say, "What? But now I'm with the group, so everything's better," and we cheer to it.
Well, you kind of just skipped a step. You just toasted the traumatic thing.
Are you really upset about it, Erastus?
A
I'm
little.
sorry. Go ahead, finish the rest of the story. I take the toast back. I'll wait to toast until after the story's over. Go ahead.
And will just hold their glass above their head until Erastus is done.
I do like a reverse, like almost as though I'm on a VHS tape and you like rewind it, like a reverse motion of toasting.
Okay. Well, maybe Gretna can go. I think I need to get some chocolate courage.
So he says, "Well, if we're all ready, the next course is in aperitif. So this is just to cleanse the palate, but it's a course on itself. You'll see." And he says, "Are we ready?"
Yes.
All right. He says, okay, so he has, so they all come around, the servers all come around to you, and they place on the table a what looks like a handkerchief. It's a cloth handkerchief, and then they all come back with what looks like just sand, and they dump the sand, white sand, on the handkerchief itself. And then he takes what looks like a clear liquid in a very long vial, but the vial itself looks like a very, very fancy, almost old perfume bottle. It's all glass. It's got a bulb at the very bottom, but it is very, very long. The vial, the test tube like vial that goes through it, is almost 2 feet long. And he goes through and he starts to pour little bits of liquid on everyone's sand on their cloth. And as he does that, uh, this sand goes through and starts to melt into a small figure of a woman. And then, as you notice and look at the sand itself is some kind of sugar. It's not as fine as sugar that any of you had ever like seen. That, by the way, is very, very expensive in Faerun. But this is a little bigger. The crystals on the sugar are a little bigger. But as it goes to start to melt away, a naked woman is in front of you. A very fine, like naked woman statue is in front of you, all made out of what looks like a sugar like candy. And then he says, and then as that happens and he goes through it, he says, now the best part. And he takes a small metallic device and he puts it over each one of your statues. And as he does, a radiant light, and so this thing looks like a coin. Although, if anyone has a passive, does anyone have a passive perception above 15 in this group?
I have
Yes.
I
17.
have 15.
17. Okay. 15.
Rassus has
What is your
19.
passive, Rassus? Okay, so so Max and Erassus. So Pan, you would also notice that it's more than a coin. It's not really a coin. What it is just a flat piece of metal with another piece of glass on the center. And then Erassus and Max, you would notice that inside that piece of glass is what looks like a small thing, like trapped in it, almost like amber. Erassus with the 19, you would see that the small thing is what looks like a very tiny, like slime-like organism that's in the center, and it emits this light on every one of these sugar sculptures, and as the light hits it, they all turn different colors. So they're mostly pink and purples. It's a varying degree of like pink and purple as the light hits it, and he says, enjoy. He says, these are a bit fragile, so be careful when eating them. They will break apart very easily. But he said, I assure you, you have never tasted anything like this.
Shall take your word for it, and Max will carefully pick up
It-
the.
So it is impossibly brittle, but you are careful, Max, and you go through it. It's surprisingly easy to bite through it. And as you bite through it, it does start to crumble a bit as well. And this is what it tastes like. And this is going to be the same for everyone. It tastes like candy in the very beginning. It's a very sweet candy. That candy turns into sour that becomes a very like intense sour, and then it fades through, and it has a very subtle like Chardonnay, like wine, like subtle thing that completely cleanses your palate out. And this all happens within 30 to 40 seconds. It's when it starts to change in each one of those things. So at first it's very sweet, then it turns into sour, and then it turns into this like subtle Chardonnay flavor. It does break apart. It's like very delicate sugar, essentially, almost as if it's hollow, but it's not. And as you crunch through it, it just shatters in your mouth. Very easy to eat.
Wow.
Shikulu seems very unappetized by it. He likes Squidward bites like just on the edge of his teeth, and then when the shards fly everywhere, then he like begins to eat them normally as he understands.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel like Sio would see this, and whether because of just the blatant display of a naked woman in front of her or the drinks, her skin, which is normally like a purple amethyst, gets about a shade or two darker. and she'll
Yep.
just hold the figure for Kiri to take the first bite, and she will quickly, without looking at the rest of the figure, just toss it in her mouth.
Yeah, and even though it is tastefully done, it is still a naked woman with details. But it is tastefully done in this case. But yes, it is a little embarrassing, I would assume, for
Rassus
some
has
people.
like
Yep.
wide eyes.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Cover your eyes,
Yeah.
Erasmus.
seeing this reaction, Shakulu like leans onto the table and says, like, "Okay, I'm gonna be honest. I thought this was like some unusual like relationship thing. Like maybe he was your brother or something. How old are you two?"
Us?
Me?
And Theo will point to her and Erasmus.
I think
Yeah.
chronologically, like 64.
What does
Um,
that mean? That is too many syllables that I don't that what is in my vocabulary.
well, like we said, there was, I think Erasmus may have called it time dilation, something like that. Um, well, when we first met, I was 17. Erasmus you were 13, weren't you?
I was 12 and 9 months.
12 and 9 months when we first met, and then we went into the Tomb of Horrors shortly after. 50 years elapsed, so technically I would be 67. Well, I guess
Yeah,
depending on the time of year, I might be 68. I haven't really thought about my birthday, but
yeah. I'd be dead normally by now.
yeah, turtles don't live an incredibly long time, so Rassus, you would be what, 60?
2-ish. Wow, my birthday's probably coming up soon. Huh.
And that's
I
what I was
thought
just thinking.
The longest
I
lived
thought
turtle
turtles
in existence.
I thought turtles could 200 years. How is
Okay,
No, you're
turtles
thinking of
are not
tortoises.
turtles. Are you a salamander? No, I didn't think
the
so. But
lizard? And he like make
but
the
you're
motion
both
with his finger.
but you're both red. Okay. Yeah. Like I have a shell. Turtles have a shell. I'm not a turtle. It's really insulting when you say that.
He seems genuinely confused, and he like leans back and he says, I'm sorry, I meant no offense. I never heard of the one. For this entire time, I assumed that and he makes like a crawling motion with his hand along the table. I assumed that the creatures eventually matured into your kind, but I guess that's not the case.
So I just came from an animal. I'm an animal to you.
I don't know how you could interpret that, but no.
How did turtles come into existence?
I told you.
Well, when a mother turtle and a father turtle love each other very much.
When all of them hit 50 years old, they have an orgy on the beach.
No,
Orgy.
no.
Uh,
There was we have a god, and he made us
That's why
special.
you were very attached to that turtle. Dragon turtle, thank you. And the
Yes, our god is a dragon turtle.
Is it really?
He's the first one, and he hatched from the second moon in the sky.
How closely related are they to a green dragon? I don't know much about dragons.
What?
oh God.
Well, it's a dragon turtle.
Yes. Is it like half dragon, half turtle?
They're older than that.
Gotcha.
All life comes from the sea originally, and dragon turtles are the eldest race. Well, not probably literally, but that's how the story goes.
What
And we
did
come
they
from
used to be called back then?
I don't know. I didn't really listen to the stories that much. That was more of my master's thing, but I know enough to scrape by on a history test.
You have a master's.
you
I
haven't
one.
spoken much of him.
I got one.
You've
Well, I probably had one.
Well, what was his name? You've only ever mentioned him once or twice in passing to me, but I don't think you ever said his name. Her name, their name.
Oh, it was a he. He didn't. There's not a really good way to. It's really complicated, and we normally spoke turtle to each other, and Erastus will start making like this weird like guttural, like it sounds like almost like what you hear like frogs talking like, and with a mixture of clicking, and then he'll go back to common, which kind of translates to Beshal Tinny.
Umbra is eating his sugar lady without like touching it with anything, so he's just like reaching, like he's leaning over and taking bites out of it on the
Popping it
plate.
for apples.
Yeah, he was old.
Because he
didn't come-
doesn't know where to poke it. He feels like poking it would be like impolite, so he's just like
He was a weird
popping
guy.
for sugar lady.
He was a cool guy.
Just lick it. That's not weird, right?
He was old as
All right,
Torval
well I
and
just
a
met him.
boy.
So he taught you how to be an artificer?
Technically, we
Yeah.
did buy her dinner first.
Not her at
Jeez.
dinner, actually.
I got kicked out of my
If
family.
she's part of a dinner, it's her dinner, right?
Okay.
Wait,
You could
what do
say
you,
that.
Erastus, wait, what do you mean that you got kicked out of your family? I thought you just lived in a hoi hoi, got bored of it one day, and left.
No, I got kicked out.
Is it because your father tried to eat you?
No,
Is it
What did you
because your
do?
mother tried to eat you?
I didn't do anything. I was born wrong.
Max
And
is
I'll
taking
try-
another drink of his wine while this is going on. You guys can start to tell that
It's that
he's
thing in
getting
his
pretty
chest,
he's
isn't it?
he's getting somewhat drunk. He's not very good at holding his liquor, and he says, "And the plot thickens."
It's the shell. It's the thing in his shell.
Well,
We all know about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that and yeah, I wasn't very strong when I was born, and you know you only have 6 months to raise kids before you die, so they didn't waste time on me, so I had to figure it out for myself. So I
But
kind
you
of
found
just
your,
sat on the beach for a long time.
but you found your mentor. You did that right.
He was coming down to pick up this black rock which grows on the coast, and I was just sitting there fighting off seagulls. And yeah, he picked me up and he said he'd teach me. I guess he felt bad for me. So I just tried to hold the billows and, clean the shop, and I did that for a long time. And then I decided to go traveling. But yeah, I saw my brothers and sisters. They just didn't really talk to me or nothing.
Instead
Well,
of thinking that he took pity on you, maybe he saw potential in you. I mean, look at how much you've accomplished, Erastus.
He was pretty tough. He told me I was pretty pitiful.
but if
All
he could
teachers
see you
say
now,
What?
I said all teachers say that.
that
I
is
only
true.
had the one, so I don't have a lot to compare it to.
Van called me.
It's something called tough love, Erastus.
Yeah, Van called me pitiful a lot too. And I don't think he was wrong, but I think it's tough love.
I think he was wrong.
He was pretty right, but it was tough love. He loved me in the end. But
Yeah,
I think if
well,
your mentor could see you now, Erastus, I think his ideas of you would be different. You've accomplished a lot. You've probably surpassed him, if anything.
he was older than 50, which is weird.
Well, you're older than 50, and you look not a day over 13.
He wasn't from a hoi hoi either.
I thought all turtles came from a hoi hoi.
Yeah, me too.
Well, where did he come from?
He never talked about it, really.
I'm not insulting your intelligence here, but are you sure he was the turtle?
There's no
Okay.
other options.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think he was? A person who just
A
took a
really
shell?
young dragon turtle.
I don't know. He was definitely a turtle. Turtle.
Oh. You said
He was
it.
a turtle. He said it.
That was Gage, by the way.
God damn it.
That was Gage's mistake.
Shakulu chimes in with, You shouldn't be ashamed of your body. Your body is only one piece of the whole. Um,
What?
you've heard of all the legions, right? He makes like a chittering sound with his teeth as he like crawls his hands across the table again. And he says, "The small, disgusting green ones, goblins." And then he like lifts his arms and he flexes and he says, "Those huge, idiotic brutes, the bugbears." And yet, as big and strong as they are, they're never in charge. And he taps his head and he says, "Because they don't have the patience, they don't have the intelligence for it." And then he leans back in his chair and he says, "I'm not saying I'm very smart, not as smart as you, but definitely I'm no ogre."
I don't have a shell, right? So I had to make my own. And it was very hard. But I did it.
And you did. And you're here now, and you face things I doubt any of your siblings ever did. You're very accomplished, Erastus. I
Well,
don't see why you give yourself a hard time.
yeah, well, I don't have a family name, so
Well, make one.
that's why I just have Erastus. I don't have.
But you're Brittleback.
Oh,
First
well,
name.
that's what they just called me. That was what they named me because I didn't have a family name. They just called me that. So I had to
Well,
take it.
you're
You don't need a family name to be a part of a family, Erastus.
Well, it helps.
Well, you're a part of our family. Once we get a name together, you'll be Erastus Brittleback first of his name.
One of us dies like every 2 weeks. Not exactly the greatest reunion contingency.
For the last time, I'm not dead, guys.
Yeah, I was about to say Max technically doesn't count. And at this point, Seal kind of leans into the table with one of her arms. Her cheeks are noticeably 2 shades darker than amethyst at this point, but she's, for the first time in probably a few weeks, she's like giving a genuine warm smile, and like her eyes have like that little crinkle in the corner from when you're giving a genuine smile. And she's kind of just enjoying.
My family name is Anthu, but I couldn't take it.
Spell that?
Anthu. Anthu. With the little 2 dots over it.
I like Brittleback more. It's easier.
Well, it's an insult, so I don't like it very much. Because I don't like people looking at my back. Also, I didn't know how to swim when I was born, so I had to get taught that. But you're supposed to like somehow know like day 1, and I don't understand how you're supposed to know that because no one taught me. Whatever. I've had this conversation before.
Well, I don't know how to swim, so you're already better than me at that.
I also don't know how to swim.
Swim training at the academy was one of the like 80% of people fail. Most people don't know how to swim.
We're supposed to know day 1. Like you hatch, and then they're like, "We're going swimming," because you basically get thrown into it, and you get life skills in like 6 months. And I just had to sit there with a stick and a hungry seagull and just fight it.
How big are baby turtles?
Like the size of regular turtles.
Yeah, Sio has no concept. I imagine Sio has like maybe seen a turtle in passing, but she's just gonna like hold her hands
They
together
hatch
and
out of eggs, so they can only be so big.
no, but and
Yeah,
she's
they
gonna hold
hatch.
her.
They place 5 to 8 at a time.
Sio's just gonna look at you, Erastus, and just say, "Tell me when." And her hands will come together in like this circle, and she's slowly going to start separating them.
About half a loaf of bread.
Is that this or this? How?
That one.
Oh, okay.
I was little.
That's pretty small. So you were Kiri sized, and she's just gonna like hold Kiri and kind of point him
smaller
at
than
you.
Yeah.
smaller than that.
Yeah, Curie says, yeah, smaller, mommy, because I'm not that small.
And they called me fat because I couldn't
Is
flip
Kiri
over.
technically fat, or is Kiri a lean boy?
Kiri's not
No,
fat yet.
Curie is actually pretty, like for a pseudo dragon. Curie doesn't have much fat on him at all.
Kiri, you
Yeah.
need to eat more. You're taking most of my meal, okay?
Yeah, no,
But
he says I do want to eat. He says I like to eat.
Okay, then you're gonna eat the rest of my food, okay? But the wine is for mom. Mom only.
Mom
He
needs
says I
it.
should probably try. He said I should probably try that wine though. But okay.
You can a thimble,
yeah,
thimbleful carry. A
I don't
thimble.
really have a sad story as much as I have a embarrassingly pathetic story. Oh, yeah.
I, you would be well loved if you were born in Orwarin. The weakest are beaten on the most to survive, but if they survive, my
The
God, they
more
become.
I know about you, the less I like it.
I mean, out of character, he's a goblin. He probably, I don't know what happened to his siblings. Like,
You're making Umbra look like a meadow of flowers.
Well, speaking of backstories, and Seal will kind of lean further into the table to make eye contact with Gretna, like trying to awkwardly look around Erasmus. Gretna, what's your
I'll
story?
keep doing the thing where I'm like trying to go front when you go front and then go back when you go back.
oh no,
Gretna,
And then I'm just gonna go into my shell.
Gretna, what's your story? All I know is that I messaged a member of your family at one point for you, and they said they're well and you're well, and that's where it ended.
Yeah. Yeah, you can all be sorely disappointed in what I gotta say.
Well, you're a craftswoman.
Hmm?
A very good one at that. You're always able to tell where stone comes from or any properties of it.
And
Yeah,
coming
my
from
whole
the
family's
shell.
Mason. Oh, I'm sorry,
Okay.
Assis. Go ahead, keep talking.
No, I was gonna say, and she knows rock's good from inside the shell.
Yep, I'm a Mason. I was trained as a Mason from the family. If you ever come to Athkatla, if we ever get there, Tuckerton Stoneworks, family business. Mother, father, brother.
Tuckerton Stoneworks.
Things went pretty well.
The next place that Chris is sending a dragon.
I don't know. I guess the only thing sad that happened to me was, I don't know, one day a guy came into town, he was talking about Tyr, and I heard it, and I said, that's what I want to do. And I got to know the guy pretty good, you know. Svant. Svant. Anyway, we fell in love. And, he decided he was gonna end slavery in Athkatla. And I said, that's a good way to get yourself killed. Sure enough. My holy symbol. Like, she takes out her holy symbol and shows it. I carved this out of a piece of his tombstone that we chiseled when we carved it out, you know. And I made a holy symbol out of it. That's the only sad thing that really happened to me. Went to Luskin because there was a lot of people dying. And a lot of people dying means a lot of work. And then I was walking through the streets one day and went to a bank. I was just depositing some money for my family. Now I'm here.
I love how
Saving your
Greta.
masters.
I love how Greta says her story is not sad, but I think what we just heard was Greta was like somewhat of a indentured, like basically sex slave slash manipulated into a relationship to go through Tyr that she had to kill someone and go through that. I need to read your backstory again, Greta. That's actually awesome.
Oh.
Not to mention not to mention the powers that she uses through the symbol is off the tombstone of that guy.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
pretty
that's
brutal.
that's metal.
That's
That's
pretty
awesome.
awesome, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, as soon because I didn't know if I misheard you when you were like, "Yeah, he wanted to make me a slave," and I said that was a bad idea. I'm like, "But hold on,
No, he wanted to end slavery in Athkatla.
Yeah, enslaver.
end slavery."
Yeah,
Okay,
I wasn't his slave. I was his
that's
girlfriend.
thank you. Good.
You're welcome.
Partner
Yeah.
in crime.
I'll
I
pop
just
out of shell now.
because slavery is legal in Athkatla, and he didn't like that idea, and so he wanted to end it. And
Oh,
that didn't work out so
Gotcha.
well
No,
for
I
him.
gotcha. No, I misunderstood. I
Oh
misunderstood that too.
no.
I was like, what?
No,
yeah, no,
you
I was like, I
know
totally missed that in your backstory.
that's fucking metal. That Gretna's a
Yeah.
good person.
No, there's
Great.
nothing really. My family's, as far as I know, doing well. You know.
Gretna's Harriet
Sorry,
Tubman.
guys. Ain't nothing sad happening there, but I think Tyr guided me to you people, and to keep you alive. And I look over at Max. Works out.
Yeah, I want to
Mhm.
hear about this tier
I
sometime.
thought I sort of rub my neck and say, "Yep, you're doing a pretty good job of it."
Well, I thought you were bad. I thought you were trouble. And then you got your head cut off, and I thought, oh no, he's okay. So it worked out.
I mean, if that what it is, if that's what it takes for you to realize someone's a good person, then
No, I mean, because I wasn't sure, you know, and you are, I think, part demon as it is, really. But then when you like actually stood up and got yourself like killed for us,
that was cool.
that kind of that kind of made me realize that I was wrong. That's
Wait.
what I'm saying.
I'm
There had to-
watching the waitstaff while this is all being said.
Greta,
Also,
whenever
I can
you
only dance jigs, so I don't think I'm gonna win that dance competition.
You
That's
might.
all I can do too.
Gretna, do you know about what's his name? What's his name? Moradin.
Mordenkainen?
Moradin.
Huh? No.
Moradin. The
Moradin.
god. Yeah. My mentor said he was a dwarf god, and he was like always cursing out about him when he was working a forge. I thought he sounded pretty cool, so I thought you might know about him.
Would Gretna know about him? Because there's not a lot of dwarves in Athkala, and there's definitely no temple to this guy in Athkala. So I don't know if
No,
Gretna would
I
know
mean
about him.
the thing. So Athkal is mostly, by the way, human. There's a small faction of gnomes, and even smaller faction of dwarves. Dwarves make up only like other races, and dwarves make up 2%.
Yeah.
I believe gnomes are like 8 or something. So no, probably not.
Moradin is the wife of Baranor, who's like king of the dwarf gods.
Yep.
That's why I remembered that.
No, in Athkatla there's Lathander, Helm, Saloon. There's a lot of temples in Athkatla, but not him.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
said-
so Gretna.
Hmm?
I have a message for you from Fentrix. Something about Saloon just reminded me of that.
That?
He was he worshipped soon. He worshipped soon.
No,
I've
that's
heard
why. That's why I remembered. I am not versed in
My
the
keynote
gods.
senses are tingling.
I'm not versed in the
Where?
gods.
Gross.
I know the difference. I just frequently forget the difference. I'll send it to you. He said it was private, so I'll just and she'll just continue saying that.
after dinner. It's okay.
No,
I heard that-
I'll forget by then, and she's gonna message you. Did Tyler ever tell you about the?
Oh yeah, I know.
Okay, yeah. CO is gonna tell you about that. I don't in or out of character remember if CO has told you that or if you knew this, but she's telling you again.
Okay.
I'll just turn to Shakulu and just be like, yeah, we have friends. Sometimes.
Yeah, she's just gonna tell you all that, and we'll just close her book and give you a warm smile. That I just remembered that.
Okay.
As
So-
Is it
as this
dessert
goes
time?
through, well, as this goes through, there's 2 more courses. So as this goes through, Zyles does say, "Well," he says, "Are we ready for the Beholder course?"
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Can I have the vegetarian option?
Gretna kind
Says, yeah, so-
just
he
takes
says-
off her locket and she's kind of like looking at it. And go ahead.
Yep, he says anyone who doesn't want this, by all means, you can we will give you a substitute.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay.
I will have one of the beholder.
Okay,
Yeah,
wonderful.
Try it.
Beholder
Awesome.
would
He
be
says for the woman, for the man, who else?
nice. Beholder for my pseudo dragon, if you would.
I'll try one for the turtle.
Beholder, please. I would like to eat some sort of legendary beast, supposedly.
He says, wonderful. He says everyone wants this, but and he looks over. He says, but you, sir, correct?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yes, but the
Okay.
Mothman. All but the Mothman.
He says, all right. And he says, and so he brings this dish out to you all in silver plates. So it is, I don't know if everyone here has seen beholders, but so the circumference of the eye stalk, it's been vivisected and cut thinly. It's around 2 inches or so of that. It's in a circle, and they're prepared like steaks. Inside of the middle, though, you'll notice that there is a like gelatinous kind of structure. It looks like it's vertebrae, but it's gelatinous. It's not actually bone, but it is in the shape of vertebrae. That must be what's inside of the stalks and what keeps them able to like essentially bend and do whatever they need to do to go through that. But this is just a section of the eye stalk, so there's no eye or anything within this. Again, it looks like a small circular steak. It is slightly pink. And he says, before everyone partakes in this, I will tell you this. When you eat it, you will see fractal patterns. Also, it does have a very interesting side effect. You will lose all cares about any worry that you've had. Now, the effect does wear off. It only lasts for a minute or so as you eat the flesh, but it does have a natural kind of almost mirthy like feeling. It's very hard to describe. Out of character, it does make you slightly high. Out of character, it also you will also not be able to lie really well once you eat this for a full minute, and so you'll be very honest because you won't have any cares about this honesty, and you'll be almost be compelled to be honest. It's not a magical truth serum or anything, but just keep that in mind. And then also, um, you lose all inhibitions and everything. It's essentially like being on drugs too, because again, you're going to see all these fractal patterns. Who wants to eat it first?
Pan will. Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
just dig in.
Yeah, so as everyone starts to eat, you go through it, and sure enough, it hits you immediately. You see a bunch, and Rasus, you notice this because they are deeply complicated mathematical fractals that are perfect, and they pulse in synergy at things too. As a matter of fact, when you look around at light, it's even more brilliant as the fractals are more brilliant around the light as well. It's pretty amazing. Looks very. It's not frightening at all because again, the effect it might have been if you had eaten this and didn't have that other calming effect, but because you lose all worries for a good solid minute, it's actually very pleasant and kind of amazing. You do feel high doing this as well. Every single person has a normal reaction to this, except as Max starts to eat this, his skin drops immediately into a jet black. He has tiny like horns that appear, two horns that appear going through him. Max does not notice this at all, but everyone else sitting around notices this immediately.
I don't think any of us care though. I don't think we have the capacity to at the moment, except for Umber.
Yeah, you
I
don't. No,
do.
this is. Yeah, I was gonna say, Umbra. What you were given was a piece of fruit, and he explains that this is a piece of fruit from the Feywild. It looks like a normal orange, but when you opened it, a creamy substance comes out of it. It's like a really intense orange vanilla cream. That's amazing, but also fizzes slightly and is slightly sour. But yeah, Umbra, you notice this right away. Now, everyone else notices this too. It doesn't mean that you can't be inquisitive, and it doesn't mean that you can't be um, frightened. But in this case, so when you're under this effect as you're high, this isn't truly alarming enough. Now, if Max were to get up and start ripping people's heads off, you can take action, obviously. But yeah.
So as this sort of change happens in Max, he sort of becomes more boisterous and sort of obnoxiously loud. And I'm not sure how like majority of the people would sort of hear this if they're sort of like hearing mumbles or just not really caring. But Umbra, you would hear Max say, "Ah, this meal is wonderful. It's almost as good as that time I killed that man."
Retna would understand it too.
Umber's eyes are bugging out of his head. He's just trying to peel his little orange, and he sees this.
Now,
And
Zyles will say,
he's sort
"My
of Max is just eyeing everyone, and then he takes another bite of the beholder.
You see
I
him
was kind
hurriedly
of right
back.
about you, wasn't I?
Xiles does see him hurriedly back, and he's like frantically talking to the staff. And if anyone overhears this, which some of you will, he's like, "What on earth is happening? That's not part of this. What is going on?" He's very confused and worried that they did something or whatever. Anyway, keep going.
No, this isn't you. He's
Oh, but this is me.
this.
What is that?
This has always been me.
It's just. It's. Don't worry about this. He's fine. This has happened once before. He's. This is just type
He's
of
a
glamour.
demon.
Yeah,
When Max,
who
when
else
Max
do
finishes the beholder, he's gonna stand up and he's gonna just sort of gaze at everyone for like a good 5-ish seconds, and then he sort of licks his lips
Max,
in a really creepy way.
sit down, Max.
Max, do you want more? You can share with
And he
Kira.
points to you, Umbra.
Sit down, Max.
Shut up, pink skin.
Kiri will telepathically go to you, by the way, and he will say, "Mommy, that is a black man. That is super scary. Super scary black man. That is a super scary black man."
Kiri,
All
that's
right, you can't stream that, Chris. Cut that out, Amanda. Cut that out.
Okay, I'll cut it
He's-
out after
he's-
the
he's
session's
got a-
over.
Nah, yeah, Carrie
He's,
doesn't
he's
know.
gonna
Carrie
walk
doesn't
over
know.
to you, Umbra, and he's gonna grab you by your shirt. You trouble me.
Armor on.
You know.
Max,
Uh,
grab your
What
shirt,
does he know?
and in Abyssal, he's gonna look at you and say, "This is a poor fucking time to do this. You better sit down before we all get in trouble." Now.
He'll
Max.
speak back to you in Abyssal, saying, "What are you gonna do about it?"
I'm not gonna do anything, but you're gonna have the whole city on you if you cause a scene. So remember about the people that just told you they love you for the last 2 hours. Okay?
I'm gonna stand up.
Yeah.
Remember.
See
Armor
you.
on. Armor comes on.
Around this time that you guys like get through it, Max does slowly start. It is a slower process than when he started, but you slowly see his skin start to fade. There is kind of, you feel this. There is pain in this transformation. You didn't feel it on the onset, but as it transformed back, this is painful to you. And when it's finished, Max, there are little bits of blood where your horns would have come out of your head, and there is like discomfort. Your whole the skin kind of stings slightly. I mean, for you, this is not a huge deal. You can power through all this pain, but it is a little bit painful. So
I feel vindicated.
Max, when he comes back to his senses, he's processing what's just happened, and he lets go of your shirt, Umbra. And
Umbra's hands are shaking.
Yeah,
he's
and you'd see
still holding
Erasmus with his armor standing over you.
I'm sorry, and he's gonna just walk off. He's
Like
gonna
a
head
wait.
towards the teleportation circle.
For a second, I was
Yeah.
like, "What?
It's
Did you just walk off the platform?"
before you he says,
He
"Sir,
got
I am
slumped up
sir,
here.
I am terribly sorry." Before you leave, he says, "Sir, I'm so sorry. That has never happened before. I assure you, I had no idea."
It's not your fault. I just I'd like to be alone for a while. Please do treat my friends as you have been treating them.
He says, "No, of course. If you need to leave, of course." He says, "You're free to go," and he steps aside so you can get on the teleportation circle.
And Max will head back, and he'll just sort of he'll head down towards where the rooms are, and he'll just sort of sit outside the main door with the into the rooms.
Yep.
He's just gonna
Well,
sit down there,
we will
sort
get to
of
this. We
crouched
will get to
over
this
into
in a
the
second.
fetal position.
We will get to this in a second, but there is a man outside waiting for you at that door. He's going to start conversing with you, but we'll do this in a second. So don't worry about it for
Okay.
now.
Yeah.
As soon as
No, plot.
Yeah,
What do you know, Umbra?
Umbra. Yeah, what happened? What do you know about this? Max said he talked to you about this, and I talked to him. I know there's something with his blood. It's a curse similar to tieflings, but do you know something else? This isn't good.
I told him I'd look into his infliction. I know nothing more.
Do I believe Umber when he says that?
Yeah, is Umbra
You
holding
can
back?
you can incite other players. So
I'll
if
believe
you,
Umbra.
yeah.
I'll automatically believe.
I'm
I'll
wondering.
insight just because they had a private conversation in a language
Yeah.
none of us understood.
Anytime, by the way, anytime you insight, none of you are good enough actors besides maybe Pan and she would have
spelled
to
it
roll
wrong.
performance, but anytime you insight, they know you're trying to read more. So what that means is that of course any of you would know more. So Umbra, you would know they're trying to dig. But anyway, go ahead.
She's
What'd you
fucking
guys get?
really drunk.
And you have to oppose Umbra.
Oh,
Umbra,
Jesus.
Oh,
Umbra
shit.
only got a 5, so
Okay.
everyone either meets it or beats it.
I
And
got a
I
nat
also
20 for a 29.
Nice.
Uh,
Okay. So
Unless-
Umbra, are you telling the truth, Umbra?
Unless
And
I'm
if
forgetting something, I'm telling the
yeah,
truth.
so
'Cause
Umbra's
I had
being
my helm, my comprehend language helm on. I understood
Yep.
everything they said.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, so Umber's being completely honest.
Yeah, because I told the group that I do also have demon blood, but nothing like that has happened to me before.
I'll sit back down and step away from Umbra.
Yeah.
This has never happened to me before, and I don't think it's the same.
No, my concern isn't that this would happen to you, Umbra. My concern is that we're not putting something together that's potentially dangerous. And Sio's gonna look between Umbra, and you can tell the whole time she was looking at you, it was out of concern, not a look of betrayal. And she'll look to you to the teleportation circle and back. I'm going to go check on Max.
No, you wait here. I'll go.
I think it's best that at least one of us.
I think he needs space. You've
And-
been there recently.
And I wanted space, but what I got was the comfort of my friends assuring me that I'm okay.
No, you all aren't in the best headspace right now. Let me go. I haven't eaten anything, so anything that
Look,
would change your mind.
Before you go,
there is one more course. There is one more course.
We're in the middle of something right now, waiter guy.
Let me just go see if he's outside. Maybe he went back into his room. Let me just check. I don't need him running around the city. And he's just gonna walk. I'll be right back, Xiles. I'm very sorry. It's been wonderful so far. I'll be right back.
Of course.
Sio's walking with you. You told her no, she didn't take it for an answer.
Oh my god.
Okay. Yep.
Well,
so you guys walk into the teleportation circle, yep.
Pan's going
So
to
was it just Gretna, Pan, and Shaq left?
Yeah.
There's four.
When
Where the
Umbra
rest is?
gets up to go to the circle, Pan's just gonna tell him, if you need any of us, just send us a message, okay? Okay, good talk.
Yep.
I don't have message.
Really? We're
Cio-
sending?
Cio will just
I don't have any more sendings for the day.
Yeah,
Yeah, sorry.
Cio will just pull out her book, not knowing if you're talking to her or Umbra, and she's just going to shake it at you in acknowledgement.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes,
that
I know
silence
you.
was me switching tabs to check how many spell slots I have on D&D Beyond because I used a bunch last session.
Yeah, I won't need to rest, that's for sure.
Well, once they leave, I'll just turn to the last four. Look, I like Max, but if he does that again, I'm not going to ask very many questions. I'm not going to hurt him, but I can't let him hurt someone else.
He won't.
We hope.
He won't.
Sure.
I don't think
We'll see.
dwelling on on the possibility of fighting him is the best thing for us to do. I think for
I
now we
won't fight
just
him.
I'm not dwelling on it. I'm voicing 3 sentences of caution against a possible future.
I was the one who didn't believe or trust him in the beginning. I was the only one.
I
And I
think that was-
still and that changed. I think he's gonna be okay. But if he's not, I won't fight him, but he'll be gone. Don't worry about it.
Well, vague cryptic threats aside, I'm
No,
sizzling.
banishment. It's easy.
Oh, well, yeah, that's less vague and less cryptic and very, very threatening.
It is not. He goes back home. It's not cryptic, it's not threatening.
Okay. Well, we've seen his home. So maybe that would work out for the best for everyone.
But I don't think it's gonna happen. I think he's gonna be fine.
Let's hope so. Because that can't happen when we're in actual danger. I mean, that's not cool.
I don't think it will.
Good.
Although I do have a couple of questions about what he said.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all do.
Xyles says, "Look at all of you." He says, "So a dessert?"
yes,
Poor
please. And if you could, I'm sure you already will, but just please make sure to put out the extra dishes for the people who left, because hopefully they won't be coming back for us.
He says, "Of course, absolutely." He says he claps his fingers together, and he snaps them, and as this happens, everyone does surround, and they put what looks like individual cakes on everyone's plate, but each cake is different. Each cake does have a small, maybe chocolate. You're not exactly sure how this works, but there's a sculpture of different people within everyone's cake, and they're just people that represent different. Like some are merchants, some are royalty, and he explains to you that these really well sculpted people are made out of a special like edible clay. It's made out of sugar. Um, and the cakes are all different, and each in the layers of these cakes are sweetened by fruits that are not of this plane. And he explains that they are from a place called the Feywild. It's a land of like fairies, and it's where the Eladrin originally came from. And he said this is something that just has to be experienced on your own. I can't really explain how good this is. It will change, and this is like mini desserts in one.
Ooh, sounds delicious.
Any of you, if you go to take a bite, the way this works is that first it tastes like a custard pie, like a vanilla custard pie. Then it tastes like a chocolate cake. Then it has a strawberry flavor. Then it does go through several different fruit flavored pies. And then, so there's like 7 of these layers, and it goes through the whole thing. And it's like, even though it's not that much cake, every time you take a bite, you just let it sit, and it takes like a full minute or so every bite if you let it, and it will go through all these things, and it will end with a very mellow caramel flavor. But this dessert could take as long as like you could draw this entire dessert out for an hour if you wanted to. It's that complex, even though it's small. So, but he says, of course, enjoy. This is our specialty here.
Pan digs in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
I
figures,
will
by the
too.
way, the little figures that are made of this molded chocolate clay thing, the figures have a different taste. They all taste like chocolate with a strawberry mousse on the inside. They do not have the effect, and they can be taken off the cake, and they are separate. But the cake itself, you do go through all of those things. And like I said, one bite can take up to a minute, sometimes even longer, and it goes through many different desserts. Now, for the guys downstairs, everyone that goes through, we will get to you in a second because it's probably easier if we do the whole group. But there is a person waiting for you downstairs, and I am going to give you art for this person. Hold on.
Uh-oh.
Well, they're important.
There's Max's art. So who's the other guy?
Yep. So hold on one second, and he's waiting for you. So,
That's not what you want to hear.
Yeah, the
I mean,
demon.
I would just go on to say that he saved our lives. He's been fine. Don't sweat it.
Yeah,
I'm
one
not-
strike, you're not out.
Not sweating it. Not sweating it. He was just
Do you sweat?
cautious. Yes. Yes. I'm not a fucking alien.
Do turtles sweat? Or do they pant like dogs?
Technically, Tritons are.
Do Tritons
Do-
sweat?
Do wizards bleed when you hit them?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a,
Turns out
that's
yes.
Very
that's
much.
a class, not a race.
Sometimes I bleed when I don't get hit.
Excessively so. Why do you ask?
Wizards die when you sneeze on them.
That's how wizards work. That's the
Sometimes-
trade-off.
Sometimes if someone gets punched near me, I get hurt.
Yeah, the water just makes
That's
it
from
bad.
D4 sneeze damage.
Take that custard damage.
Yes.
Oh god. Custard damage.
Yeah,
Not the custard damage.
Where's my custard master feet?
I don't want to know what that means. I'm honestly concerned.
New wizard subclass. Custard. It's just custard.
Just
Custard
custard.
master.
Bread. It's about
The
custard.
custard conjurer.
Right up there with garlic bread cleric. Jesus.
Sorry, guys. There's a lot of art for this
Garlic
character,
bread
and it's
dragonborn.
some of it's not.
God damn it! It's
most
Relaxel.
appropriate, so. No.
Chances
There
are
you
it's Artemis.
Ooh.
That's what he looks like. He does have
Oh my fucking
So-
god.
he does have the book in his hands, and he is doing something very similar to that, and he's peering inside of it as he sees you guys. But we're not going to do any of this interaction until the other guys are finished. So
I think we're done as far as I know.
Well, if they're not coming back, I'm having their dessert.
yeah, that is Jace Balerin, and he is canon now. Shakulo, yeah.
God damn it, bro. I'm about to be a fucking Golgari fucking soldier.
Or not, because we said no plot.
Yeah, I know. Oh, and I'm sad.
I don't know what that means. I'm just
I have his mini.
Yeah, I have very different priorities. Me, oh, that's kind of cute. Co, upset he's interrupting the Demon Kid sad hours.
We're not going to Ravnica. We're not doing it.
Aw. So yeah, I think unless anyone else wants to get some role playing out of the way, we said we were gonna do some in our rooms. I think we're done with the dinner.
Yeah, I think we're done with the dinner.
So
Kind
much two truths and a lie.
Max,
Damn.
so he sees you first, Max,
Mhm.
and he says, this is before anyone gets down, by the way. He sees you first, and he says, Max, where's everyone else?
Oh,
Have I met him before?
Never.
Max, he looks like he's holding his head, trying to cover
Punch
up the blood, and says, "I'm sorry. Do I know you?"
He says, no, but don't worry. You're exactly where you're supposed to be.
Okay. Who are you? Why are you looking for the others?
He says, my name is Jace, and I have spent a long time trying to track you down. And he says, look, I know there are things that you were just in the middle of. And by the way, what's your passive perception?
17.
Okay, you would see this in his. So see that effect that he's doing right now? What he was
Yeah.
actually doing is he was actually looking at a playback of your entire dinner conversation, and you would have seen this. And he says, I know things are confusing. I don't have a bunch of answers about what happened to you, but there's way more important things going on right now. He says you can go and talk to the group later about all of that, but before that happens, and then he sees you guys come down. He sees you, CO, and others come down. But you saw this. He dispels this, by the way. But you saw that in his blue aura thing.
Max.
Matt,
Hey guys.
are you okay? And Sio's gently gonna like put her hand on your forearm and kind of position herself between you and this stranger who's just weirdly outside of our door again.
And this is a different stranger. Yep.
Still a different
I
stranger, still somebody in
Yeah,
front of our door, and we did not invite them.
I've definitely felt better. I know one thing. I'm never having Beholder again. He just sort of offers you a warm smile, but you can tell that you can feel that Max is as you grabbed his forearm, he's shaking, and he's relatively quite fearful and upset about what just transpired.
Yeah. She would give you a gentle smile back and just nod and would turn to the guy who, imagining we didn't hear anything he was talking to Max about, Sia will just turn to him.
you didn't. Yeah.
She'll just give them a gentle smile. I'm so sorry. Our friend isn't feeling well. Apparently the beholder wasn't prepared as they said it would be, so we'll just be taking him to retire for the evening. Thank you for watching him though, and she'll kind of just put herself to where she's in between Max and this guy and start ushering Max towards the door. Not really feeling like this guy's a threat, but not really caring and wanting Max to, in this state, go back into the room for privacy.
He says, "Okay, Seal." He says, "But I want you to understand that the next time I come see you will probably be too late."
I'm sorry. Have we met before? And she'll give him her full attention and kind of just look to Umbra and nod to Max to kind of get them situated. I don't
He's
Max doesn't really sort of budge towards the door. He's eyeing the stranger with a concerned, curious look.
Too late
he
for what?
says he says, "Well, it's kind of a long story." He says, "My name is Jace. Eliwick's already met the other group." He says, "You have Mordecanian's books, right? Right?"
How would you know if we do or we don't?
He
Is
said
a
he said
start.
we can go in he said we can go inside your room and we can talk. He says, "But I'd rather have the whole group here. There's some complications that if I do tell you and your other group goes off and runs at certain things, it could change a bunch of other things that I've tried to plan out meticulously up until this point. So I'd rather them not be chaos and I can just talk to all of you at once."
I appreciate your sentiment and the efforts you have gone through, but if you're telling me you know as much about us as you're leading to, Jace, you'll understand our hesitance in inviting you here or introducing you to the rest of our companions.
Theo,
Could
I've
you
seen the
short?
world die 1,000 times. So it is important that I talk to all of you.
She's going to turn to Umbra and Max. You can tell she's mildly concerned, but she's more looking for your input on do we or don't we bring the party down.
He says,
Max,
I promise you, Max, what I saw from you, minor in comparison to what's actually going on. I just need a minute of your time. Every second I stand here, it's actually toxic to me."
are you able to help me?
He says, "No, but I can give you information that will certainly set you down a path that where you can help yourself. My name is Jace. I'm a planeswalker. There are other planeswalkers here. We're all trying the same thing. I believe the best approach is just to be direct and talk to you directly. I'm sure my other compatriots, or I guess you'd call them that, kind of competition at this point. They have other ideas, but I'm going to be very direct and very honest with you, and we're going to see how that goes. Mordecanian is a fool. He got it wrong, and I'm here to correct this mistake.
Max will turn to Sia and say, could you message the other people, please?
I thought we were all together, like we all came down.
Yeah, at some point you guys did. So I mean, at this point you can all start walking down. Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Yeah. Seal, not knowing the party's on their way, would nod to Max and look to Umbra for confirmation.
Umbra would also nod, but he's stone-faced right now.
She'll quickly message Erasmus, please hurry to the room, something's wrong.
Yes.
They'll be here shortly. We have a lot of questions. How much time do you have?
He said, not a lot if I want to survive this. He says, however, I'm glad to answer any questions. I just need to get out what I need to get out first. Like I said, I've already set you down a path just by being here, just by talking to you. I am something called a planeswalker. I'm from a place that none of you probably have ever heard of. I'm from Ravnica. And it is really, really important that I do disclose what I'm about to disclose. So there's a very powerful wizard within in this realm. I actually don't even think he was from this world. I think he was from a world called Greyhawk, if I remember correctly. His name is Mordecanian, I believe. He created those metallic books that all of you have. And I have really bad news for you. It's actually not because if any of you thought the reason why you have these books is because you were destined for greatness or great heroes, that's not the reason. Mordecanian is trying to cheat fate and cheat destiny by sending 30 of these books out into the wild and artificially make people, I don't know, demigods or whatever. But I've seen it. I've seen it 1,000 times. Nothing ever works. More importantly, and as he starts to talk, his skin starts to blister, and he said, "Damn it! Ah, this place sucks." Um, he says, so he says, anyway, long story short, he says, look, there's actually many groups of you. As a matter of fact, there's another group right now that my friend Eliwick is also trying to go through this process with. But I need you to understand something. If you meet Metastopheles, I think his name is Mephistopheles, I don't even remember. If you meet him, do not take his idiotic deals. Do not deal with him. If you meet him and you're powerful enough, just cut his head off, kill him outright. Don't even mess with him. He is the beginning of your end and everyone else's end. If you meet him, do not take any deals. Don't take any of his ideas. Don't go do things for him or whatever. Also, if you ever meet a demon called Grass and he looks at you, by the way, which I think you already have, right, Max? Didn't you already meet Grass? Yeah, he says, that's right, you did. Right. So he says, listen, he's dangerous. He's gonna be your downfall. I've seen this too. But most importantly, you have two or three options here. He says, there's another group right now that's doing this thing. I think it's the Witchlight Carnival or something. Probably a dead end. There's another option though. There is actually someone very, very close to you in Calimport, and he looks at you, Gretna. He says, I think you know him actually. He is your only chance at planar travel. He is the only person, and it's him and his group. They kind of cheated this. He said, as a matter of fact, I'm a little bit jealous because, and he looks at his skin. Uh, I mean, this is what happens to me when I enter Faerun, and this guy can just go between worlds on a large ship. It's not very fair. He said, however, he said, if you do get involved with him, understand, do not go to Dark Sun. Do not go to Dark Sun. Do not go to Dark Sun. And he looks at you, Umbra, and he says, nothing good will come out of you going to Dark Sun. If that's an option, do not go. Also, and he looks at you, Pan, and he says, he says, I've had this conversation with you like 4 or 5 times already, and no matter what I say, things go wrong. So I'm going to try a new approach. He says, your people your people are elves. They are elves. They are sea elves. Don't mess with it. Leave it alone. Leave the sea elves alone. They are elves, and it's worse than you could possibly imagine. Don't dig into it. That's only going to cause problems. And then he looks at you, Erasmus, and he says, "Do me a favor."
I'm not down there yet.
Oh, okay. So wait. So who
We,
is
we,
here then? I thought
she's
Chikula said everyone
she,
was coming.
well, she sent the message, but we hadn't like cut back over.
No,
Oh,
I
okay.
don't think no one actually sent the message. Just Shakula was coming down with Pan. So you're the only one left up there,
Oh
Erasmus.
well,
if that's
and then if
okay.
that's the case,
Yeah.
then yes, I would be there. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I must have missed that.
Yeah. He looks at you, Erasmus, and he says, "You you are really, really going to cause problems if you keep going headstrong into this sense of like justice thing you have going. Just do yourself a favor and just you're a smart person, relax and think through things. The answer is not always black and white. You can you can have gray answers. You can do bad things if the result is ultimately good. Remember that." And
I'm
then
sorry. Who the fuck are you?
and then he looks back at you, Theo, and he says, "Theo, most importantly, though, honestly, abandon the looking for your brother thing. I have gone through this conversation with you before. I know you're not going to. Like I say this to you every time, but really, he's not a good guy. I know you want to believe that he isn't. I've seen it so many times. Yes, there's like a possibility that you could redeem him, but it's not ever worth it. Trust me." And then you see that his cloak is now starting to smoke, and he says, "Damn it, this freaking realm!" And he says, "Listen, this is the most important thing that I can ask of you, though. If you can find a way to get into the Feywild or the Shadowfell, either one, bring me back." He says, If you go to the Feywild, he says, bring me back Kaleidokin, and if you go to the Shadowfell, bring me back Sistan. Either one of those, I can actually stay and actually help you and really explain this. But before I literally get destroyed by staying here, I'll give you like a couple questions, and I hope to God this time it works.
Where is Sistan?
Is Theo the main character of this game?
That's
Yes.
Why can't I go to Doxon? I don't even know. Why? Why'd you say that?
He said, "Listen, Sorcerer Kings and you do not mix. Don't question it. Don't go." He says, but seriously, another question?
Where
How-
is Sistan?
Why
where
is
Sistan?
justice bad?
Everyone's just
He
talking
said
about-
if you get to either of those locations, just ask about them. It'll put you on the right path.
Feywild or
Prob-
what?
The Feywild or the Shadowfell. He says
Shadowfell. Okay,
also
thanks. That's all I needed to know. Fine.
perfect. He says this is how this works. The more information I give you, the more I change things, the more I screw it up. Trust me, I've done it 100 times.
Why
Just
is
look at him when I
justice
take
bad?
out a rock.
How can I
It's
how
okay.
can I sort out
It'll
my
be
demon
alright.
blood?
He says he says, Max, if I tell you, it's going to cause tragedy. He says you really do have to come to this on your own.
Who is he? Who are you?
He looks at you, Erasmus, and he says, Erasmus, another thing. Listen, I'm serious. You go to Ahoy Hoy, only bad things are going to happen. Remember, I said that because if I know you don't trust me, I know you think that whatever. I said just everyone remember this. Everyone remember I said this. Going to Ahoy Hoy equals bad things happening to Erasmus.
Can I make
Anyway,
an insight check on him?
you can make
I
an
have a
check on
passive
all
insight
this.
of 19 to begin with, so.
So he does actually look like he is going out of his way to tell you the truth.
The
Also,
one thing I wanted to do.
what you also notice, you don't have to listen to Marasis. The one thing you also notice through this insight is that he is constantly clutching and squeezing his book. And if you look closely, now that you've seen that, Gretna, you can look closely. It has the same exact the runes that you've seen on Mordecanian's book. On the cover of it, on the inscription, those are the same very alien looking runes. They're exactly the same.
You
He
have
says,
the same
"But
book we have.
he says, actually, I have a better book. And he shows you the book. He said, this is the problem. Mordecanian thinks he's a god and thinks he can fix things by meddling in things that he was never supposed to. And he ends up destroying not only my world, but every world. And he says, and he starts to like really, really, really hurt himself. He says, listen, I got to get out of here. That said, one more question. Go.
Baba
Uh,
Yaga, what do you know about her? How am I related?
Your mother. And he goes away.
Bruh.
No, when he goes away, when he goes away, this is what ends up happening. This is a very specific effect. And it's gonna be something that if you see again, you'll know this is a planeswalker. So what happens before he leaves is a mirror image of him, impossibly and infinitely gets spread left to right as far as you can see. It goes through walls and everything else. It literally impossibly goes out to both ends. And then what ends up happening is he starts to his whole entire visage. If you've seen like an old TV, you know how when you turn it off, there's like a point and it turns into a line. That's what happens to him. It does not look like teleportation. It doesn't look like anything you've ever seen before. You don't even feel the effects of magic. Umbra, when he does this, it's in an instant and then it's over.
Okay.
Well,
Oh,
Max is gonna take the key and unlock the door and head inside.
your mom. Wait, that means
Yeah, Sio is. I feel like the whole time she like had her hand on Max's arm, but after he said that about Baba Yaga, it kind of just fell slack, and one hand is just over her mouth, and she's just squinting, not understanding how. Sio has a very limited understanding of the situation, but she's very perplexed how that could have just slipped.
God damn it! One day we wanted one goddamn day.
We can't have anything nice.
Fuck. Fuck.
Would I know anything about Baba Yaga?
Yeah, you would have read stories about Baba Yaga. Yes. You would know that she is the mother of all hags. She is the most powerful and probably terrifying like hag-like creature, although she has been known to do good things. A lot of the stories about her doing terrible things. There is also rumors and stories that she actually does hold things together. Like she's all about balancing things out. So she's been seen in different worlds. For instance, Baba Yaga is in Greyhawk, which is how you know her. She's very famous. She's kind of a fable, but at the same time, there's enough stories about her that you suspect she might be real. But you also read about Baba Yaga in Faerun, which is why you were so attracted to this creature, because this creature is the only creature that you read about that existed within Faerun and Greyhawk, and it's the same exact thing.
Sio didn't tell the party until this moment that she was related to Baba Yaga. Cool.
One day, Ross is gonna go in and sit on the couch and just put his hand in his head.
Well, it
His
might
head in
actually,
his hands.
it might actually be after midnight. We might actually have gotten literally one day.
It's 5. It's 5
It's
a.m.
it's actually almost 4 a.m. So it's almost
Oh
4
my
a.m.
god,
So
we've
it's
been
the next
working
day.
up.
We did
Because
it,
remember,
Nice.
we did fast forward to 3 a.m. There was a 3-hour time thing. So
We didn't even get a full day.
yeah.
We got 21 hours today.
21 hours of fucking peace.
So Shakulu's gonna enter the big 5-person room with everyone else. And he's gonna pull out a flask that he had made of alcohol, and he's gonna take a big drink out of it and then say, "I'm gonna pretend that didn't happen," and then he turns around and points at Sio and says, "I want to see how red you can get, Devil Girl," and then we dance.
Stop. Wait. Hold on.
Max has just he hasn't even gone into his room. He's just sort of sitting outside his door. When you walk in, Shakula, you see that, and he's just sort of sitting back up against the door.
There's like 7 things now when we had like previously like no things. And I hate all of the things.
I hope someone's been
Ugh.
writing down all these plot hooks because we're gonna have some decisions to make after our vacation's over.
Can't we
We're-
just
I think our vacation just ended.
Dude, we're never getting the beach episode. It's fucking never happening.
It's on fucking fire, my guy. I don't know what you were anticipating after that conversation.
Umbra is pacing.
I
He's-
have to go
he's
to
doing
Ahoy Hoy,
circuits.
guys. I have to.
No, dude. Look,
I don't
I don't-
fucking trust that guy.
I-
So
I don't.
I'm sorry if this is it with us. I gotta go.
Why do you have to go?
I got a obligation I gotta attend to.
If we're
Look.
all going with us, if you should like inform us because we're gonna find out anyway. Or we're just gonna be sitting on the beach while you obligate yourself.
Gross.
That's just the attitude that I don't want to bring back with me. I don't need to bring back people making jokes or fun of me. So if you
Did he
can't cut that
not?
out,
No,
Everything he said was truthful.
So that's what you do. You divert. You just try and divert the answer by saying that you don't like the way I'm asking the question. I'm asking a question. Why do we have to go? Why do you have to go and we have to come with you? Why? Because we're gonna go with you, but why? We deserve to know.
oh my, my family, we are kind of in charge of Ahoy Hoy, and technically I'm the oldest. That makes me in charge.
You just
What?
said you were kicked out of your family. How does
You
that
said
make
we
sense?
told you.
Well, I'm the only one that's actually left,
How do you
and
know that after 50
Apparent-
years?
You couldn't
'Cause
even
we
get their
died.
last name.
because we die, but I'm on the record, and the oldest turtle runs the joint, and I am now the oldest turtle. I need to go check on it, and
But
I need-
Erastus,
if my
is that
master-
what you want to do?
if my
Max
master
says
still-
this. Max
my
says
mas-
this. His head down in his knees, blood still pouring out. He just overhears this. Says, "Is that what you want, Erastus?"
if
Why
my
would you take
master's
the
still around,
chance?
I have to visit him.
Why would you take the
He's-
chance? He said it would destroy Ahoy Hoy if you went. Why would you do that to your family? Why would
'Cause
you do
one,
that to
I
a
don't
place?
fucking trust that guy.
Everything he said was truthful. He knew all of our names, and he said something very astute about you.
Yeah,
so I would listen.
I know
to
all
him.
your names too, so they don't make
He
me-
knows
You've
more
never
about
met
us than we know of each other.
I don't fucking trust him, and he's saying that it's not written in stone. So
You're a scientist. Look at the facts.
yeah, fucking, that's not how time works. Multiverse theory, bitch.
I would reevaluate that if I were you.
Well, you're not me, so
Look, if you want to go to Ahoy Hoy, you're going by yourself.
yeah, I figured.
No, he's not. I'm going with him too. And I understand your sentiment, Erastus. And Sio, she would have plopped herself on the couch and just held her face in her hands. But as soon as you say that, Umbra, that he'll go alone, Sio will finally look up and she'll put her hands on her knees and stand from the couch. I know what you mean, Erastus. I don't want to believe him, but if it doesn't make sense that somebody who calls themselves a planewalker and is boiling as they just stand in front of us and they're desperately trying to tell us things. I don't think he was lying. I think he was trying to tell us things to help make the future better, whether that's to our benefit or detriment. I don't know, but
All right. I wasn't supposed to tell anyone. I was promised not to. But fuck. My master had this book. And he had all these books and all this knowledge. And he did not come from around here. He came from somewhere else. So he was too old to be alive still, even for a turtle. And if anyone can figure out what a planeswalker is, when all this shit is happening, it's him. Maybe it's in his book. I don't know, but I'm gonna go back there and take a look through his library. He would never let me read it before, but if I think I can now.
There's other libraries. Don't go to the one place he
Yeah,
specifically said
Umbra,
not to go.
He said
this-
he
this
said
i-
that Flump can go through the plains, and then
this-
he can like travel through them, and he's our best bet.
Umbra,
I
I
can-
understand what you're saying, but this isn't like a dialogue. I'm not asking for opinions here.
We're a group.
Oh, I see.
And if you can't do this, then I'm going off on my own for this.
He just told us secrets. He told me about something I haven't told anyone.
I understand that.
How can you not trust a man like that? I understand you might not want to listen to him, but how do you think that he's straight up lying to us?
I mean, everything I get into, every hypothetical I can give, you're going to give me a hypothetical back. So I really don't see a more point to this conversation.
You're going to destroy your home and you're going to blame us.
Yeah, no.
That is what he said. He said if you go there, only bad things will happen.
You're doing this to your family. If you show up...
You know, you're being a
bad
real
things will
dick
happen.
right now.
You're right, I am.
I don't think you are.
I don't
How
care.
is he being a dick? You just like you. Ad hominem attacks are.
You're
totally
saying I'm going to destroy my family.
That is what
You
he
are-
said would happen if you went there.
Verbatim, that's what he said. There's no arguing that. There's
He
no
said,
back and forth.
He said bad things would happen. Did he say he was going to destroy
And if
his
bad
family? I
things,
didn't-
yeah, no, he did. And if bad
Okay.
things happen to me, but I can help a hoy hoy out, and I can help, if I got nephews or nieces, I've never had a family, I've never been able to give back to them, but if I can do it this time, if I can be a part of it, it's worth it to me.
You
Oasis,
just
what was
said...
the name of your mentor? His full name. What was it?
I don't know his last name. Besh Ilteni.
Sio's gonna write that in her book, and on a wing and a prayer, message Best Shilteni
Probably.
asking if he knows of Arasis, and she'll just leave it at that, assuming it would even go through.
So in the way that you have it in your book, do you have to know what he looks like, or can you really just write his name? Does it say you can just write his name? I thought you have to know something about them or something.
Something from
I
him.
thought it would be willing.
I have something from him if that helps.
Might help. Yeah.
Cast
What is
any
it? What is
spell
it?
to target a creature whose name is on the page without using a spell slot. To do so, you must write the message on the page. I guess it would go by the sending spell, which short message, the creature
Yeah,
here.
you would have to be somewhat familiar if that's true. So hold on, let's
Okay.
see.
That's what I'm trying to see.
Yeah, you're not familiar with him.
I'm not familiar with him, so I wouldn't be able to.
Yep.
And I have no way of giving Arasis a sending spell.
Right.
Max is gonna stand up after this commotion continues to go on. He's
Just go do your own thing. And I'll catch up later.
he's gonna say in a very audible voice, "It's extremely late. We've all had a lot to drink, and we're extremely tired. I say we tuck in for the night, have a fresh mind tomorrow, and we discuss this together as a group." What do you all say to that?
Probably a good idea. I got no spells left, and I had a
Yes, I guess we'll talk about this in the morning.
quite an
And Max is gonna turn and point to Arasis. If you go running off by yourself in the night, I will chase after you. We're a team, okay? I know how much you like to act on yourself. But for this, for what we just uncovered, we're a team, okay? Good night. Max is gonna head into his room.
Cool. Yeah, this is a good place to end it, guys, because it's 10:28. So this is perfect. So
before we split off, Gretna, do you still have the bag of holding?
I didn't have it.
Who has the bag of
I
holding?
think Pan has it.
Umber would just stop Pan because he saw something that he wanted to check out over the long rest, and he's gonna reach in. He found something while he was looking for the gem. So before he goes into his room, he's gonna reach in and find like a wizard's hat looking thing.
Mhm.
Would you? You can tell what things are.
Oh, you're asking for me to identify this?
Do I could? You're a bit better at it than I am. I could maybe use this. Maybe.
Sure. Pan's gonna sit in just the main room with Umbra and Ritual Identify.
That's fine.
I'll go to bed.
Yep. Where did you guys end up picking this up so I can find it in my notes? Which hat is this? It's the one.
I think it's the one from where we got Kiri and Butterball. That desk.
Oh, gotcha. Is that correct? Let me find it then. Hold on. That's what you're talking about, right?
Sorry, hang on. I'm opening up the bag of holding.
I think so. That's the only hat I remember us getting.
Yep.
That does sound right. I think that is correct.
I just want to make sure when I find it in my notes it's the right thing. So hold on, let me see.
Yeah, 'cause we swept a whole bunch of stuff into the bag of holding at that point. But
Yep, that is correct. Yeah.
It just says wizard hat. Sorry.
Yep.
That was when. Sorry, go ahead, Gage.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt. This will be my last thing. I say before we do go to bed, Erastus will just like pat Theo on the back and just say, "I'll still help you find Vand."
after we make plans for a Hoi Hoi. And I'll be up for a while yet if you still want to talk about it.
I think I need to go. I think I'm gonna go cry in my bed. So, good night.
She'll just put her hand on the top of Erastus's head.
I don't feel very good. So, good night. And he'll go to bed. Just leave her alone and go to bed. He's walking away.
Cool.
Good night.
Yeah, I can't believe you guys never identified this, but yes, it is a hat of wizardry. It's in D&D Beyond.
This was before Pan was ever technically in the party, because this was still when
Yep.
Mina was taking notes.
Yeah.
Yep.
We have a lot of stuff that's
what
probably magical in that fucking bag.
Yeah, so what this is, Umbro, so you can use the hat as a spellcasting focus for your wizard spells, but you can also cast a cantrip you don't know. The cantrip must be on the wizard spell list, and you must be able to make a DC Intelligence Arcana check. If the check succeeds, you cast a spell. If it fails, so does the spell, and the action used to cast the spell is wasted. In either case, you can't use it properly again until you finish a long rest. It's a decent item for sure. So.
Okay, yeah, I have to check it out. What's the DC?
10. It's just into DC until 10 intelligence.
Did you have plus 11?
Yeah.
Yep.
So
I succeed.
A hat focus and cast any cantrip you want.
Correct. As long as it's on the wizard spell list, you just have to. But I mean, in your case, you can't fail it, so you get an extra cantrip on top of this, which can come in handy. But also, it's nice that you basically get a free. Like you don't have to carry anything that could come in handy too. So.
Pen, would
As
you
your
mind?
focus. Yep.
That's plus 13, actually.
It's plus 13 Arcana, so I couldn't fail it.
Cool.
Expertise. That must be nice. Would I mind what?
Would you mind if I wore this?
I have to be honest. Knowing what it does, I don't think I could use it. I think you are the only one who can.
Perfect. All right.
Did I understand that correct, Chris? It's a wizard item specifically?
Yes, however, anyone can actually use this item. So sorry. So sometimes it's better if a wizard doesn't use it because you can cast a cantrip on the wizard spell list. So for instance, Shakula could use
It requires attunement by a wizard. It says in the spell list.
Yeah, it does.
That's what I figured.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that is correct. I'm
like
an idiot.
Abel's multi-tool. It requires attunement by a class.
It's because it's in Xanathar's, but when you look it up in D&D Beyond, I have it as an actual item that I created, so that is correct. Yep, you're right. It requires attunement by a wizard. You're the only one that can use it. Sorry, I thought it was better than that, but
still pretty
you are correct though.
I'll make it my backup character for next session.
Yep.
Hey, we're
No,
not
this
going
is
to a hoi hoi
yeah,
next
no,
session at least.
yeah. You
Well,
guys can do
maybe
whatever
you're
you
not,
want. You can
but
still Erasmus. You can still go
he
to a
is.
hoi hoi. It doesn't.
Yeah,
It
he
doesn't mean
is.
just 'cause somebody says something. The other thing to keep in mind too, guys, that I actually didn't expect that character to come in. That character's only here this session because last session, the other planeswalker was introduced, which is why he has to come in now. So
Last session, the Planeswalker was introduced to us or a different
Yeah,
group?
he
no,
was.
completely different group actually.
Okay,
Different
okay.
guy. That was a different guy. That last session it was a different guy. No, Group A found Ellie, which is the first planeswalker that is here for a totally different reason. And since they're all tied together, whether they're in competition or working together or whatever, now all of them have to come in, and now they all know how to get here. So that's the other.
Gonna
It's
have to
all
go
very
back
complicated.
through the gonna have to go back through the VOD and write some notes down about it.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah,
Chris, you, before she goes to bed, wanting to cast a few sendings from her book. Is that permissible or wait till next session?
no, you can do it. That's fine. Yep.
Okay. Grazie.
Yep.
All right. Well, I had a fun time, everybody.
Yeah, and by the
was
way, if worst case, like Erastus is saying, worst case, if Erastus goes and everyone else just says, fuck no, I'm not going, which is fine, which is totally fine, by the way. It just means that Erastus does have to create another character. At
Yeah.
that point,
Oh.
he retires. He's gonna go off and have his own story and whatever. Doesn't mean you necessarily lose the character Erastus, but
He
for
might
a
come back
while
later.
you will.
Maybe
Yeah,
he'll come back later.
yeah.
Yeah, because I was thinking that too, because Seal meant it. Erastus has been here for the trip with Vand, and she feels like she owes it to him. So I
Yeah,
hope he.
because I mean, like, it's not like Jason's like, "Don't go find your brother." It's not like Sia's gonna be like, "Okay."
Oh, fuck no. She's absolutely gonna find him. He's gonna have to tell her another 20 times before she considers
Yeah,
listening.
exactly. That's exactly right. And just so you know, the fun thing about these characters are I split them out. As an out of character thing, I am playing Jace exactly as with all of Jace's information set up. This is exactly what I would have said. Like this is because this is fun for me too, because now I get to see if this would even work or how it doesn't work or whatever. So this is going to be awesome for me at least. But that's the other thing that's fun. You guys do whatever you guys would do. Don't worry about it. And by the way, if multiple people go, like for instance, if Erasmus and CO goes, either you do sunset both characters or the group decides, okay, we're not going to lose like 2 people going through it. And you'll see what happens. If you lose a lot of people anyway, there other things will happen. So
Yeah, we don't know
don't
if we'll
worry.
make new characters or just take like a hiatus for
Right,
some
right.
time. We'll
Yeah,
have to figure it
exactly.
out.
So yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
We'll
that's what
talk.
brother did.
But just do a vote anyway. Just do a vote and talk amongst yourselves, and then by next session, just
Can-
think about what you would do and go through it. So
Gage has just said in chat it doesn't matter what the vote is he's going one way or another.
Oh yeah, Erasmus is headed out. Like
Yeah.
I feel like if there's any ambiguity left, I wasn't making his stance on the matter clear.
Does anyone have any? I don't actually have augury. But Gretna, is that one you have?
I can check. Hold on.
Oh, we need the spell component though. That has
Certain subclasses of clerics can get it, but I think certain paladin, and then I don't remember the other class that gets it.
It's a default cleric spell.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, I thought it was.
He'll dump infusions on everyone and head on out.
I'm pretty sure that goes away if you die.
It can last for a week if I die, even if I die.
Okay, cool.
yeah, it's a roll exactly. Yeah, it lasts up to a certain number of days.
Okay, I can prepare it for tomorrow.
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, it's pretty damn 100%.
Well, very interesting session.